Got to curl the mustache for the intro, guys. Make sure the mustache is curling up, you know.
I'll fix the hair.
Fix the hair. Get those nipple rings ready. Oh, my gosh. Good to see you guys, my brothers. How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Yeah. Been a busy week, but, you know, like I was talking to the guys backstage, we pretty much, tell you what, nearly 48 hours of work this week. So it's been a long week, but I've been looking forward to this. Yeah, been looking forward to getting schooled by the Rev.
Yeah, Brad. We did Fruitcake Tony's show on, it was our Sunday, your Monday, and it went till like 11:30 my time, and I had to be up at 5 to take a trip, and I worked 14-hour day that next day on 4 hours of sleep, and I had to pull over 2 times on the way home to close my eyes because I was falling asleep at the wheel. I was beat.
Man, that's a hard one. Gotta get that balance, don't you? You know, get your sleep and get everything in check. It's important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had a ball. I had a blast on that show. I thought it was awesome. I think what they do there is pretty cool. What we do here is pretty cool. What, you know, it's always a good thing when you're on other people's shows, participating, learning, and sharing things. So it's really good to see that Van Halen's taken over the internet. That's going to be my war cry, guys. You know, let's take over the internet with Van Halen. Look at us. You know, may the tone be with you. EVH over there. We're doing it.
Yeah. Like Tony said, I dare you to change the channel and go to something else, because there's probably going to be another EVH show on another channel.
I
thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool.
Thanks for having us on, Tony. We had a lot of fun, and it was good to, you know, chat to Johnny as well on there. So thanks, Johnny. I think I saw Johnny in the chat. So how you going? Yep.
You've got the usual rat bags here. We've got Nelson joining us and D-Tube hanging in there. So, guys, we're 1 hour earlier than advertised because if you guys were aware of it, Brad and I are in winter hours, so we're not in daylight saving hours. So our clocks went back a week ago, and so you're still on normal time, Rev. Is that correct?
We're an hour later than normal.
Okay, so do your clocks go forward or back anytime soon?
They spring forward in the spring, and then they fall back in the fall. So we're in the spring right now. So
what time is it where you are?
It's what time is it? 8:13. 8:13 at night. Friday night.
It's okay.
So you've gone 1 hour ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And ever since I got the world clock, now when I communicate with you guys, I know what time it is. So it's 3:15 where 3:13 where Andrew is, and 1:13 where Brad is, right?
Yep. You're onto it, bro.
Yeah. Technology. And awesome. Speaking of
Cobra
balance,
Kai's in the chat.
Cobra Kai, speaking of balanced, I'm going to show a couple things before we get started on the show, if you don't mind, Andrew.
Mate, no problem at all. You grab those bits and pieces, and I'm going to make sure that we get streamed on the Van Halen show, on the the Van Halen group. So just hold on. So we are streaming. We are streaming on the Van Halen, all things Van Halen group. And what do you reckon, bro? Should we stream on the All About the Blues page as well? What do you reckon?
I reckon.
Okay.
Let's just
I don't care if we
everywhere.
stream on Martha Stewart's home baking channel. Let's stream everywhere.
So we're streaming on there as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was going to show you guys this before we started. Here you go.
Wow.
So Brad, I was showing Andrew this. This is a art project from 1995 when I was in high school.
Wow.
I drew this out of watercolors and liquid ink. And
That's awesome.
Andrew didn't believe me, but there's my signature right there, Kurt Snyder, 95.
Far out, man.
I found these in the garage. It's really old and beat up, but pretty cool. And I'll show you. We'll go kind of in chronological order. Here's another one. I think I did this in 95 as well, the 5150 rings. This is in pencil, so this is lead.
Wow.
And then
Lead Van
in
Halen.
true fashion, Van Halen 2, this is Prismacolor from 94. Look at that. 94 is when I made that thing.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
There
Huh?
you go. That's unreal, Kurt. Well done. That's
I
a good
can't
find.
I can't draw that well nowadays, but when you're taking it for an elective in high school, yeah, I mean, it was fun.
Mm.
So I thought that was pretty cool to show today since we're going to be showcasing Van Halen 2.
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome, Kurt. Well done. Good find after all these years, too.
Yeah. My wife probably tried to throw them away a few times, but I chopped one of her hands off.
Yeah. I was going to say you just throw her away.
Yeah. Well, she's a clever girl. She's not going to do that. She knows. She knows if it's got anything to do with Van Halen, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Well, my wife's maiden name, I mean, I guess I'll say it, but it's Van Klinken. And when I first met her, I'm like, well, that's like Van Halen. You want to go out? Yeah, she's Dutch.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So
it's all
quote unquote runs in the blood, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So who do we have in the chat so far?
Oh, got the usual. We got Cobra Kai in here. Some guy called Thomas Santiago. Hey, Thomas. It's been a while since we've seen Thomas. Our daddy, Johnny Bean. Hey, Johnny Bean. Good to see you. D-Tube as well. So, yeah, we've got 7 people watching. And we're looking forward to the Rev telling us all about the background to Van Halen 2. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do. We would really appreciate it if you could share our channel on your social media links and say, hey, check these guys out. Please subscribe. And don't forget, we have, once we reach 500 subscriptions, we are going to have a draw for a T-shirt. And then we've got another competition planned, all because of the generosity of the Rev as well. So we've got competitions galore for you guys. And all you have to do is sub to the channel. Pretty easy. I will also, while we are talking about our channel, if you can also, if you're watching the replay and you're already, if you don't already have these links, there's the Kurt there at Instagram, the Rev.
Follow the Rev.
There he is. There he is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Brad. Easy. At Brad Cook Music. Subscribe to those guys on Instagram and you'll keep up to date with what we're doing here and also what those cats, Brad and the Rev, are doing independently as well. So thank you for listening to that part of the show. It's always an important part. We've got to get that part over before we get into the nitty-gritty. You've got something to show us, Brad. Something to talk about.
Also, you've got to keep. You've also got to promote your Instagram there, Andrew, too. Brit Electric Blue Show, isn't it?
Oh, look, they can find me. They can find me on your guys' channel. So
Well, it's in my link anyway, guys.
yeah,
Link to Andrew's is in mine. So
yeah.
and Kurt's, I think, too, isn't it? Is Kurt in yours?
Yep. I put you guys on everything too. And poor Simon. Poor Simon's probably tired of my posts.
I've been a bit quiet on Instagram in total this week because I haven't had much time. But I get all the notifications and I keep getting tagged on everything Kurt does. So I just share the hell out of it.
Yeah, that works.
Me too.
You can just forward it. I don't care.
Just share.
Yeah.
But this week I had a delivery from Brit Electric Blue Show, the British Electric Blue Show. So I finally got these. The hooks aren't in there. The snap hooks are in there because I've actually.
Can you say the description 3 times fast?
No, I can't.
What is it? Put it up again so I can read it real quick. I'm going to see if I can do it. Okay. Snap clip, clasp, set, eye hook. There we go. Snap hook, guitar strap lock, clasp set. Snap hook, guitar strap lock, clasp set. Snap hook, guitar strap lock, clasp set.
Oh my gosh.
So
awesome.
I managed to fit them this week.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for that. Now I've got there's no excuse now. I've just got to learn to play the damn thing.
It looks good. They look good on there.
It looks right now. It looks right. So thank you, Andrew. That's a new addition. So thank you. And I have been I've been extremely busy this week. So my defrag moments, sitting in bed, I've started reading this. That was from Andrew as well. So thank you very much. I'm sure everyone here has read this, but I haven't actually read it. And it's almost like I can't put it down, so I don't want to go to sleep.
It's a must read. It's a must read, in my opinion. And Ted Templeton's book too. Going forward, they're benchmark books on Van Halen.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm actually going to read a small excerpt out of that tonight.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. And don't spoil it for me, Kurt. Far out.
Are you up to Van Halen 2 yet?
I'm joking. You say what you like. I'm joking. Don't worry. It's all right.
What you can do is you mute your mic, and so you can't hear him. Or your phones. Mute your phones.
And also, it's not that I'm trying to promote anyone or anything like this, but I saw this about 5 minutes before I came on here, before I jumped in the green room, and I thought this is worthy of promoting because this is just unbelievable artwork. And I just want to quickly show. Are we allowed to show something that I've found on Instagram or what?
Why not?
It's got music in it. So I'll turn the music down because it's got Van Halen music, so we don't get flagged. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not monetized yet. We should be okay.
You guys can see this.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that makes my artwork look like shit.
Oh, that's peeling some tape off. Oh, wow. Now it's a blowgun. What's going on? Oh, spraying. What? It's spraying. Okay, that's a stencil. Okay. Oh, I see what it's... okay.
That's on Instagram?
This is... I'll share her link, and you guys need to check it out.
Liquid text
paint. I've been following this girl for a long time because I love her artwork. She does a lot of Hendrix, Clapton, and this is her recent one. So I want you guys to check this out, right?
Okay.
You wait till you see the finish.
Eat your heart out.
It's almost done. You wait till you see the finished product, though.
Wow.
You guys have got to check this out. It's
This is insane.
She's phenomenal.
Who is she in Australia?
No, in America. Look at the detail.
Wow.
That guitar pops. Oh, look at that.
Not bad, bro.
Anyway, there you go.
Unbelievable.
So
That's
her
pretty cool.
account, I will probably share it in the stories of my Instagram page. So go check out my stories and I'll share it after this show. Her name is Zena. That's her account there.
Okay, so
Incredible work.
hook on to Brad, and you can get that link. Zena.
Wonderful artwork. Yeah, she does Clapton, Hendrix, Jim Morrison. She does a ton of stuff, and I've been following her for ages. But
Awesome,
when
bro.
I saw that, I had to share it with you guys because I thought that was phenomenal.
That's pretty cool.
No, that's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah. So,
We've got James in the chat too. Hey, James.
Hey, real quick, Andrew, we talked about James. He wants to jump on when we do the Van Halen 1 show because he has a couple surprise guitars that we're going to show. I'm thinking maybe we have him do the first show before we rank the tracks.
Beautiful.
So, the 23rd, or no, excuse me, the May 7th, American Day.
No problem. No problem. So when I send you the link, you can flick it to James and he can jump on.
Yeah. And James, you were talking about maybe showing a few other guitars. If you have any other guitars you want to show on the show, but this one that he's going to show is real special for the first Van Halen album. So appreciate you, James, and it'll be good to put the name to the face for sure.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. Come and hang out with us. Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. All right. Well, should we talk about Van Halen 2?
Let's do it.
I think so. I think this is probably a good time. So we're not ranking the tracks, guys. Remember that. This is a background provider. This is the digging deep. This is the research presented to you in a condensed, clear, undiluted Van Halen fashion, ready for you to digest in bite-sized chunks. Rev, take it away.
Man, I'm not even hungry, and I'm hungry. Bite-sized chunks. So we're gonna kind of break down this album in chronological order. We're gonna start off with coming off the '78 tour, and then we'll talk a little bit about the State of the Union with music in general in 1979. And then we'll talk about the band going into the recording studio and putting down the tracks for this album. And then we'll go into a little bit of the live tour and go through some pictures and talk a little bit about them promoting the album and going out on tour. So with that being said, 1978, Van Halen's just coming off the tour with Black Sabbath. And I didn't really think about this, guys, but this was the last time that they were an opening act until 1995 when they opened up for Bon Jovi. So after they were done with Black Sabbath, they were a headliner all the way through till 95. So big shift in the band, going from, they were the opening act for three bands at first. They went on tour with Journey and Montrose, went around the United States a little bit, and then they jumped on tour with Black Sabbath, and their opening act for Black Sabbath, and they went around the United States again. Then they went over to Europe, Japan, and then back home. So they spent 10 months on the road, pumping this 78 album. And when they came back, they owed Warner Brothers like $1.5 million. Some people said $2 million. Van Halen said they owed him over $1 million. So I'll just say $1.5 million they owed him.
Yeah, I heard two. But yeah, 1.5. Who's counting after $1 million?
And Brad, as you get into the Noel Monk book, they had a terrible manager. Marshall Burrell was their manager. He While in Japan, he did a big dinner for the band, congratulating them on the album going platinum. And he took them to this nice steak dinner and had a bunch of people there. And he bought them the Van Halen necklaces with the gold VH on them. All of it came out of the band's pocket. So it was 10 grand for this dinner, and the band had to pay for it. So as soon as they got wind of Marshall spending their money, obviously not to sell it, but they hired Noel Monk to be their manager, which totally changed. Yeah, good move. Totally changed the way the direction of the band. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but Noel Monk was a new manager, and they were a new band, so they almost kind of came up the ranks together. Well, would you want to say something, Andrew?
No. I just want to reinforce a couple of the points that you're making. It was a smart move on behalf of the band. There was some chemistry there. We often talk about the chemistry that the band has together as bandmates, but let's not forget that important part of the business cycle, which is getting a manager that you can connect with. And jeepers, Noel did it, didn't he?
Yeah, and he had balls to tell the band to go interview a few other managers before they just made the decision to hire him. And when they came back to tell Noel that they wanted to hire him, he's like, well, did you interview any other managers? And he's like, did you talk to Kiss's manager? And David Lee Roth's like, he said, Brad, have you got to this part yet?
No, not really. No.
Okay, I'm spoiling it for you. But he says...
That's okay. It's all right.
We're in his office, and all he's doing is telling us all he's done, and he isn't bringing up anything about what he can do for the band. And all of a sudden, he has some guy come in, and he starts polishing his shoes right in front of us, like he's just showing how much money and power he has. And obviously, it didn't impress the band at all. And so, it's pretty funny that this guy, he has some dude come in and polish his shoes. That would be like me having someone come in and polish my shoes while I'm doing the show tonight. I got some guy polishing my shoes.
So long as they're only polishing your shoes.
Yeah, you never know what's going on underneath those.
Hey, that wasn't meant to be what it sounded like.
I wasn't going there.
Okay, right.
The family show.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm going to read a couple quotes from Tony Iommi and Ozzy Osbourne. So Tony Iommi, they were a very good band. They were very energetic. You had David Lee Roth. They were jumping around in the air. He was doing somersaults on the stage. They were all running around, and it was complete opposite of us. We just stood there when we went on. But then they were just an excellent, excellent band. You know that when they were going to make it. There was no two ways about it. They just had something that no one else was doing at that time. I knew they were going to be big.
Yep.
Then Ozzy, he said the crowds were going wild when Van Halen was on. They were so good. They ought to be they ought to be headlining the tour, not us.
Wow.
So here you are, Black Sabbath, the headlining band, and they're actually saying Van Halen should be headlining this tour, not us.
Hey, Caleb. Thanks for joining us.
So what do you want to say, Andrew?
When did Ozzy Osbourne say that quote, bro? Do you know when he said it? Was it around the time when they were touring, or was it something that he said like years later?
It was years later.
Okay.
But as you know, Black Sabbath was on the outs. Like they broke up the next year or a year later, right?
Yeah,
that's correct.
They were on their last legs.
Yeah. And then not long after that, they got Ronnie James Dio in.
But anyway, so the band was on fire, and they were energetic. They were out of this world. And it was the tip of the iceberg, There was more to come than what you saw on that little 30-foot stage that they gave them. Just for those people who don't know a ton about before 79. So we talked about Noel Monk. Part of that tour, they did 3 festivals, which really made their brand big. And one of the things they did was they went to Japan, and they had a big following over in Asia. Japan, China, those countries over there. And Van Halen really did a good job of always going back to that part of the world. Pretty much almost every year they had an album come out. And if you look at their sales, Japan was like number 3 as far as sales for the U.S. I think it was Canada, and then Japan was right under there. So Van Halen really, I think, strategically looked at that market as they thought they could have a good following there. So let's see. Noel Monk, he progressed and grew with the band. And I'm going to read a quick snippet out of this book real quick. Brad, you can plug yours as well. You guys put your feet up, grab a Coca-Cola, take a sip, get some popcorn. All right. Put out a new album was like clockwork every year. Get on the road for months at a time, touring tirelessly in the support of your album, and hope that the record label did a good job promoting the hell out of the album to ensure ticket sales, which is in turn drove concert revenue. In a brutal cycle that chewed up everyone more energetic, and obvious every artist couldn't take it, but Van Halen discovered that was the formula they needed and the product that they needed. Often the last consideration was the schedule was paramount. Whatever it took to get the record done and into the hands of the public was perfectly acceptable. Van Halen finished its exhausting 1978 world tour on December 5th in Phoenix, Arizona. You would think that merely surviving that tour, to say nothing of owning it the way Van Halen did, might have prolonged and well-earned vacation. But you would be wrong. Just 6 days after the tour ended, the boys went back into the studio to begin work on Van Halen 2. Why waste time fussing over an album title when you only have a few weeks to work on the record, recording the damn thing, talking about picking the name Van Halen 2. Fortunately, many of the songs that appeared on Van Halen 2 were written far in advance, and demos in some cases had already been recorded. Because they have played for several years before getting their first record deal, they had a catalog of songs waiting to be recorded. This is not an unusual story for a band, which is why it is so challenging to produce a second record that lives up to the standards set by a debut album. So with that being said, Van Halen was on tour together for 6 years before this first album came out. So they had basically 6 years worth of music that they could pull from. And Eddie was kind of getting on the band about preparing for recording the album, and they weren't taking it seriously. He was like, "Hey guys, we got this album coming up. We need to get some material," and no one was taking him seriously. So they really didn't write much material on the road like they did further along down the catalog, because they had so much material, already. And we'll get into it in 2 weeks when we do the tracks. But I think they wrote 3 songs are new on that album, and everything else was left over from either the club days or the Warner Brothers demo.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the discipline that they developed later on, Rev, was something that they'd worked on. Certainly on those first couple of tours, they were generally having a lot of fun in between gigs, weren't they? Writing songs wasn't a priority. So yeah, and I think also this is my own personal opinion, I think early on too, I think maybe Eddie thought that David Lee Roth was just going to come out instantaneously with these great lyrics, and vice versa. The other band members just thought, Eddie was just going to rip out with all these chord progressions and these songs, and then all of a sudden have this great album. But then they realised actually there's a little bit more involved. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. What do you think, Brad?
Well, they were all fairly young at this stage too. You got to remember that they were party mode. They were finding their groove as a band as well. So, something just fell off my wall. That was freaky.
Do you want to fix that up?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead and fix it.
I'll drop you out, bro.
Yeah, so they were in party mode, and when you read Noel Monk's book, at the point when
Hey, Warren.
I was listening to Steve Rosen's interview that he did in '79 before the album came out, they hadn't got any money yet from Warner Brothers. Like, they hadn't been paid yet. So here they are.
That's right.
Yeah, they're a year into this, and they haven't made any money. They're on this wonky contract that Warner Brothers, stooped them into, which Eddie has been known to say, I didn't even read it. When he signed it, I didn't know what I was signing. I didn't even read it. I just signed it. So they're on this terrible contract. They hadn't made any money. They owed Warner Brothers, let's say $2 million. And they had to go in the studio, pump this album out, and go on the road because they had to pay the money back. Like, they had to do it,
Yep.
So a little bit times, than nowadays. I'm sure a lot of the funds are probably put in people's bank accounts a little bit sooner than a year later, not seeing a dime yet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I freaked out when I read that part too. I just, I couldn't believe it. Can you imagine an act performing, going on the road without getting paid for a year?
Yeah, that's crazy. Just so you know, guys, Jimi Hendrix was very upset. He fell off the wall. He was very upset.
Love you, Jimmy.
We were talking about something that offended him, so he jumped off the wall.
Well, Van Halen stole their logo from him, so he's probably gets his payback.
That's right.
And there he is. He's looking over my shoulder now because he used to be up here, and now he fell off. You can see where one of the hooks was. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Sorry about that, guys.
No,
Freaky, freak out,
freak out. Hey, robot. Yep,
right there.
That's the Jimmy. There it is.
There you go.
We all borrow, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that was found in Marshall Burrell's office. And when the band was going to fire him, here we are, Brad. I'm just ruining this book for you.
That's all right.
When the band was going to fire him and they were going to go to Noel, they went to his office at 3 a.m. when Marshall Burrell wasn't there, and they boxed up everything Van Halen in his office and put it in a bunch of boxes and took it out of his office before they fired him. And that poster was one of the things that was in that box. So either Van Halen picked that logo or Marshall Burrell did. I'm not sure. Maybe Caleb or Johnny might know, but because Van Halen had that old logo prior with the 2 teardrops or whatever. So someone changed the logo to the way it is now. And actually, speaking of that,
well, look, we all borrow ideas. We all borrow ideas.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. That looks very familiar. So one of the things they say about this logo is it was very easy for like junior high and high school kids to like draw on their folders.
And we all did it, didn't we? On our school bags.
So do you guys know what this logo is supposed to represent?
Van Halen.
What it's supposed to represent. Enlighten us.
I tried to find the data, but I heard an interview with Eddie a few years ago where he was explaining it. This is supposed to be chrome metal coming out of the hot. I don't even know what you call it. Where they mold steel into a shape.
The
So
forge.
it's coming out of the fire. Yeah. So it's chrome coming out of the fire to shape into the Van Halen. So it's red hot in the bottom and it's cooling off on the top.
Okay.
Did you know that, Andrew?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's supposed to represent like a chrome steel logo that was just forged, out of hot steel, and it's cooling off, and they just pulled it out of the fire. There you go, Lily. Thank you, Forged. So pretty cool, because the first logo looks like steel too, right? Just with a few other kind of flare things on the side, but that's the meaning of that Van Halen logo, and I think Alex took over the album cover after Van Halen 2. I believe after the whole debacle with Women and Children First, I think he took over and he was responsible for him from there on out.
Yep.
So,
certainly involved in it.
Yeah, for sure. Top rock songs in 1979, and this, mind you, is for the whole year, just to kind of get everyone's mind in place, what time of year it was and who was hot. So AC/DC Highway to Hell was the number one rock song in 1979. And then we had Led Zeppelin, All My Love, number 2. Van Halen, Dance the Night Away was number 3. The Police, Roxanne, shout out to Johnny. Dire Straits, Sultan of Swing. Cheap Trick, I Want You to Want Me. Supertramp, the Logical Song. Bob Seger, Old Time Rock and Roll. We had the Eagles with Heartache Tonight. We had Van Halen's tour buddies, Journey, Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin'. Charlie Daniels Band, Devil Went Down to Georgia. It's a big cult classic. Rolling Stones, Shattered. Foreigner, Dirty White Boy. Van Halen again with Beautiful Girls. We had The Knack with My Sharona. Another Foreigner, Head Games. We had Styx with Babe. Another Police song, Walking on the Moon. Of course, we have Ted Templeton's Doobie Brothers, What a Fool Believes. Blondie, Heartache. Ricky Lee Jones, Chuck E. in Love. And we had ELO, Don't Bring Me Down. Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Russ Never Sleeps. Talking Heads, Take Me to the River. And the Cars, Let's Go. So
a lot of great songs, bro.
Yeah. Any of those fancy to you, Brad?
Well, Led Zeppelin's, what was it? All of My Love, was it?
Yeah.
I've always really liked that song. But so that was an era for the supergroup era, what I call supergroups like Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. They were all sort of towards the end of their careers, really, because there were bands that were coming out that were, slightly different, but in the same vein. And I think Van Halen crossed that whole, which I was going to talk about more when we get into the tracks. They crossed over, I think, into they covered like You're No Good and things like that. They covered that sort of sound, but they stayed true to the rock, which they were influenced by from the prior bands to them. And around the time they were relevant as an early band as well. So, but yeah, a lot of those songs I recognize, of course.
Hey now, Jay.
Great. What a great era, great era for music, really.
Yeah, and that'll kind of parlay into what we're going to talk about next. But any of those songs pop out to you, Andrew, or anyone in the chat?
Oh, a lot of them, bro. I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I remember a lot of those songs. Neil Young, Sultans of Swing was a huge song. Roxanne, My Sharona was just dominating the airwaves here. It was just a phenomenal single. Chucky's in Love by Ricky Lee Jones. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. And Yeah. And a lot of that stuff was popular music, guys. Let's be fair. The classic hits wasn't existing. There was no such thing as classic hits radio back then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and for me, I had two older brothers, and I think Cobra Kai put in there that the Sony Walkman came out in '79, which is pretty cool. I didn't know that. If it wasn't for the Sony Walkman, I wouldn't be on this show right now, because I talked about it, or I think on our first show, and I guess now's the best time to talk about it. But my grandma got me a Sony Walkman for my birthday when I was 8 or 9, I can't remember. But I didn't have any tapes. So I got this Walkman and nothing to listen to. And the Walkman didn't have a radio on it. I can't remember which one. There was one that had a AM FM radio and a tape player, but the Sony Walkman just had the tape player. So we left my grandma's, and my brother hands me 5150, and he says, "Here, listen to this. You'll like it." Right? And it was all over after that. So my birthday's in November, and so I listened to 5150 every single day, all through November. Oh, we lost Andrew.
He's got the spinning wheel.
He's the spinning wheel of death.
That's it.
Anyway, so I listened to 5150 every day until Christmas, and then for Christmas, my brother got me a Memorex tape. Remember the 90-minute tapes, Brad?
Yep.
So he gave me Van Halen 1 on one side and Van Halen 2 on the other side. So, because he knew how much I loved the 5150 tape. So after that, that's why these two albums are so special to me. Is that was my second album ever. So
here's a question for you: because you were listening to 5150 so often, and then you went to the first two Van Halen records, did you really notice a massive difference because from the first two records to 5150, that made such a shift musically, really?
Right. And Johnny, he was the same way. He had 5150 first, and then he went back to the first two. So to me, it was the guitar. Like the guitar on 5150 was like mind blowing, and that's what caught me. And my brother told me when I got the other tapes, he's like, "Now this is a different singer, but it's the same other band members." So I was like, "Well, I really like the guitar on 5150, so I'm gonna like Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2." So it was a lot darker, Brad, and for some reason I remember listening with the headphones in bed with the light off it. And so whenever I think of Van Halen 1 or Van Halen 2, I always think about at nighttime in the dark, with my eyes closed. And when that happens at 9 or 10 years old, your mind can just go into like La La Land. And it was the foundation of my musical career. Those are my first three albums, and I carried those things for 2 or 3 years until I got OUA 1-2 was probably the next one after that.
Yeah,
we lost you there, Andrew, or we still have lost you. You're frozen.
I think he's frozen.
Just carry on, guys. It's
okay.
It's a control. Carry on.
Okay, maybe pop out and pop back in. So, Brad, you actually talked about how this was a pinnacle moment in the music, I guess, timeline. It's right. Disco and punk are on its way out, and we're going into a new, I guess, 3 new genres, I would say. Heavy metal, new wave, would you say? And hair metal. Hair metal, rock, arena rock, whatever you want to. Everyone was. Yeah, there you go. Everyone was tying Van Halen into heavy metal because they had just gone off tour with Black Sabbath. And I don't think David Lee Roth took that very well. And I remember I got a thing said, we're an entertainment rock group. We're not heavy metal, is what he said.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
Andrew, you grew up in that era. What were some of the big genres in the late 70s that were real popular? Obviously punk and disco, but
Yeah. Punk was pretty popular here in New Zealand, and one of the reasons why punk was pretty popular, and there were a lot of local bands playing it. It's really simple to play. It's like the blues. It's 3 chords or 2 chords, and away you go. Disco's a little bit difficult to play because you have to have some kind of understanding and idea of how music works. But reggae was also big here too. Bob Marley. There were a lot of people listening to reggae music as well. There was no Van Halen. I didn't hear Van Halen until I got to high school. So, no Van Halen at all.
yeah. And one thing that kind of ties them to that entertainment arena rock, you want to call it, is they were a cover band for 6 years, and they were playing everything. So they really didn't establish their own, uniqueness. They kind of played the stuff that they liked and the stuff that was popular, and then they expanded from there. So that's kind of where they get that arena rock. They were a pub band. There's not a lot of bands that played covers for 6 years together. Alex was saying they played 6-7 days a week for, almost 5 years straight, which is insane to think about.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up, I can hear when they're on some of the songs, and I won't delve into it too much because I wanted to talk about it when we rank the tracks, but I can definitely hear some Sabbath influence there at times. And that obviously just goes to they were heavily influenced by their surroundings as well. So that they were innovators, but obviously they were I'm pretty sure anyone would want to sort of if you're supporting Black Sabbath, it's going to rub off on you a little bit. You can't help it because Sabbath was so even though they were at the tail end of their their prime, so to speak, they would have still been influential without a doubt. I mean, Iommi's riffs alone are some of the best ever. So, yeah.
Right.
And how cheeky were they to cover a Linda Ronstadt song? That's pretty cheeky because she was pretty popular at that time, wasn't she? So, yeah, David Lee Roth strikes again.
I know. And David Lee Roth didn't listen to entertainment rock or heavy metal or punk rock. He listened to R&B and a bunch of weird stuff. I listened to an interview from him today, and I think it was 1980 when the interview was, and he said, I don't even listen to our music. The only time I listen to our music is either when I'm playing it or we're doing a radio show, and I listen to it, in between interviews. But he said, I would take our tapes and our records and I would trade it for other records and stuff that I liked. But he liked a lot of the off the wall stuff. He was into reggae, maybe some of the punk stuff. And Andrew, I was gonna read some of the punk bands that were popular back there in the late 70s. The Ramones, The Clash, Black Flag, Talking Heads, Sex Pistols, Iggy Pop. Those were all kind of punk bands back in the day. And then, Brad, you talk about their influences, and I wrote down I call it Van Halen DNA on who they kind of modeled their music around or who some of their influences were. Of course, Black Sabbath, the Dave Clark 5, Grand Funk Railroad, a not very well-known band, but a band called Cactus. Some of you big Van Halen nuts will know who Cactus is. Rainbow, you guys remember them?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
ZZ Top, of course. You hear a lot of those shuffle songs. I think Billy Gibbons was a huge influence on Eddie,
Without doubt.
For sure.
Yep.
And if any of you out there don't know ZZ Top very well or haven't listened to much ZZ Top, that guy is they're a phenomenal group. First of all, 3-piece band. A couple old guys that can really get it on, for sure. Right, Andrew?
Yeah.
I mean, they're sporting beards like you.
Yeah. I don't think we can underestimate the influence of ZZ Top. And if you guys subscribe to the channel, Brad's going to lead the Sunday show in a couple of weeks' time in a discussion on ZZ Top and their influence. They're influenced by the British blues guys, Eric Clapton, Peter Green, and then, the Americans are again been influenced by the English, and the English guys have been influenced by the American guys. It's that, what is it, transpollination, transfusion of music going over the channel, over the pond.
Yep.
It's fascinating.
Yep. So ZZ Top, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and Cream, right? Any I missed? Any you can think of that I've missed?
I think you've nailed it, bro.
Yeah. Definitely. I think you've got them all.
Yeah. They really were kind of a soup of all those bands put together. They were a casserole or soup mixed together. And they came on their own for sure. And moving to the 80s, since this album is 79 and goes to the 80s, we won't talk too much into the 80s hair metal, but I truly believe that Van Halen skipped past the hair metal stage. I would never really call them a hair metal band, but I think they were the foundation and influencer of all the hair metal bands. The closest they came, I think, was 84, and that was just due to MTV and David Lee Roth wanting to do a couple music videos, and he was kind of doing after he left the band, he went into the hair metal scene for sure. With those 3 in the 80s, he totally was embracing the hair metal scene, which Van Halen didn't. If you think about 5150 and OU812, they weren't a hair metal band. I mean, their hair was kind of short, and they were wearing like sport coats and puffy pants and tennis shoes. They weren't wearing spandex and tutus,
and makeup and stuff.
Yeah, they weren't wearing makeup. They weren't. You're right, Brad. They weren't wearing makeup.
And
they
let the music talk. They let the music do the talking.
You're exactly right. Anyone in the chat have anything good to say? Give me a break here.
I definitely think they influenced. I mean, you see all those hair metal bands that came out in the 80s. They were all trying to emulate what Van Halen did in the early days in their own way. That's just the way I see it. I watch a lot of those bands. You watch their film clips, you watch their live footage. They're always bass drums, guitar, vocals most of the time, second guitar sometimes, or keyboards, but they all have that same thing. A lot of the guitar players were all, it must have been really quite overwhelming for Ed at the time to see all these people copying what he was doing, or trying to anyway. So
big time, bro. Even the Cars with Tonight She Comes, Elliot's playing the guitar solo. That's straight out of Van Halen. He's playing the trem. I agree. He was a huge influence on a lot of the guitar players. You look at CC
Poison.
CC DeVille.
CC DeVille. Again,
Steve Stevens.
Steve. Yeah, with Billy Idol.
And you got to look at the early pictures of Van Halen through this era. in the late 70s and everything. Like, you only got to look at the pictures of them to actually, like, there they look like a 70s rock band to me. They look like they should be in
Bell-bottom
Aerosmith.
stripes.
Yeah. But, as they progressed into 79 into the 80s, that you can definitely see the transformation of, how they dressed and everything. But they influenced, and other bands took it to the extreme. They made it more, for lack of better ways of putting it, they tried to make it prettier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I could ever get a poster made of this shot, I would. It's a little blurry. Can you guys see it okay?
Yep.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, take a look at this real quick and let it soak in. You got a couple broken drumsticks, Pabst Blue Ribbon beer cans, Schlitz malt liquor, hot dog buns, hamburger wrappers, bottles of beer, and there's a couple other shots, bottles of tequila. Eddie's got pliers sitting on top of the most popular 100-watt head ever made, next to a milkshake with the lid off. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And, I mean, they would just Eddie said in this interview with Steve Rosen that the guys, when they walked out of the studio for the day, the people that came in to clean up would look at him like, who are these people? Like, they're animals. Just treat this like, it's a frat house. And Eddie said, like, I had to get comfortable, and he said he would take an hour and a half before I felt comfortable in the studio. I had to get a couple beers in me. You have to eat a hamburger, smoke some cigarettes, do whatever.
See you, Jay.
Until he could get the shakes out. But here they are in Sunsets Down in Studio 2, which Eddie was quoted to say that this reminded him of David Lee Roth's basement. It was a big, huge room. They played live. I mean, they literally tracked music just like this.
Yep.
I mean, look at Michael Anthony's setup. He's got three different bass heads and a couple cabinets. Eddie's got 6, 7, 8, 9 cabinets I count, and one head on the ground. And then later on, you'll see he's got the World War Tom that he had on stage for the first tour. They got a tape cassette down here on the floor, which probably had, at this point, probably their Warner Brothers demos on it that they were playing. And I mean, he's got his pedal board. Look at all the garbage around on his pedal board. I don't know. I think it's really cool. And Alex has got probably a World War II gas mask wrapped around one of his arms. Just, I don't know. Really, these guys are human, I guess, is kind of what my point is,
Yeah.
So, with that being said, you see 4 guitars here in this picture. Everyone knows that I'm a nut when it comes to the gear that Ed used live and on his albums. So, of course, we have the original white and black Frankie, and he has the bomber strap around it. Cobra Kai, if you're still in the chat here, Cobra Kai has one of those for his Shark guitar, so I'm assuming Eddie probably must have just swapped it around between guitar and guitar. But he's got his Frankie, he's got his Ibanez Shark Destroyer there, and then he's got this Stratocaster that he threw together with Dana Electro neck, and that thing actually has a Telecaster bridge pickup in the neck, which I'll show you guys later on, another picture of that guitar. And then this one down here on the floor that's propped up against his amp head, that's a Dana Electro single cut guitar, and he must have painted it white. I'm assuming it's white because it looks white here in the picture, and then the back looks black, but I could not find a picture of that guitar in white at all. So he had to have painted it sometime in his tenure. So anything else, guys, before I move on?
No, thank you, Rev. That's fantastic. I just want to throw that comment there up on the Sunset Sound channel. The owner said the pick was 100% staged and said that Van Halen were the nicest guys in the world. So why wouldn't they be? But I think even though it was staged, I'm sure those beer cans were consumed by them and probably some of the staff of Sunset Studios. Don't you think?
Oh, so they said this picture was staged?
Yeah, that's what Wayno's saying. Yeah.
Okay. Like they emptied the garbage out on the floor like that, maybe?
Oh, that's probably from the night previous. No, yeah. Yeah. What do you mean by yeah? How do you define staged? I suppose that's the next question. But yeah.
Yeah. So here's the four guitars that he had in studio. We got the Frankie, which is he used on pretty much every track. And we'll dive into that more when we go track by track. I'll tell you what guitars he used on what songs. But then he had his Ibanez Destroyer with him, and then there's a real terrible picture of that Stratocaster. But I have another picture of him holding it, I think, the day he put it together before they went into the studio. So they had 6 days. They went to Belize for 4 days on tour, on vacation. And then they got into the studio 6 days after they got off tour. So Eddie had 2 days at Pasadena before they went to Hollywood to record this. So I think in that 2 days he threw this Stratocaster together that he used on Dance the Night Away. And then there's a Dane Electro, and it has a straight six headstock for a single cut, which is a little odd. It's not 3x3. So we don't even know if he used that guitar at all on any tracks, but it was in the studio, so I thought I had to put it in here.
Cool.
And then on tour, at one point, and this could probably be a whole show, Eddie painted the guitar red. We don't know if he painted it 3 days into the tour, if someone painted it and sent it to him, or if he painted it before he left. It's a huge controversy, and I probably think the only one that knows is Eddie. But if anyone in the chat knows the exact date of when he painted it, please let me know, because I've been looking all over the internet trying to find out. I know the first 2 shows he used the Shark guitar, or this Dragon Snake, and the Bumblebee. And then the 3rd show, he used the Red Frankie in Logan, Utah. And that was really the first time they saw it on stage painted red. So
awesome.
And then he had this Flying V Dean guitar that I've never seen him play it live, but he took it with him. So I don't know if it was a warm-up guitar or a backup or what it was. So.
Well.
Yeah.
No, I don't know when it was painted. I don't know, bro. I've got no opinion on that. So if you haven't found it, I'm going to say, well, no one probably knows. There's a couple of people in the chat, couple of cats in the chat who might probably have an idea, but yeah.
Right. All right. Let me show a few more photos of Sunset Sound here real quick.
Cool.
And then we can move on. Let's see. Give me a second here, Andrew. I'm getting a little bit better at this screen sharing thing now.
No problem.
All right. So there's another picture. You guys see that?
Yep.
So David Lee Roth off his stool, and you guys know that he broke his foot when they were taking the photo of the one that's on the album. Did you guys know that?
Yep.
Yeah. So the splits he's doing on the back of the album, he actually broke his foot on that jump. And that tells me they did the photo shoot for the album before they recorded the album. Or this was one of the last days in the studio, and they did the photo shoot like partway through the beginning. I don't know. So anyway, here's another shot. Eddie's got his arm rested up on one of his cabinets. There's a little bit clearer picture from a different angle. You can see his tape delay down there on the floor. The Dana Electro is up there, stashed away behind the bomb. There's a picture of Sunset Sound from the outside. Just for those who were watching the show that haven't seen what the studio looks like. I couldn't find this picture without Niels Lozauer's water stamp on it, but he's the one that took all these photos. So you can see a couple of his big Univox Echoplex equipment there on the floor. And then I thought that was cool. He's actually messing with the bomb there with the effects. And then you can see the Stratocaster propped up against one of his cabinets. And then there is the, what do you call it? My brain just came to
Variac.
The Variac, thank you. So he has, Andrew, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cabinets in there. Like, are they all hooked up, or is he using them some for a sound barrier? What's the deal?
Oh, cheapers, I don't know. Yeah, we're going to have to throw that one out to the chat. I don't know. I don't know if they'll all be hooked up. Hey, Laz, thanks for joining us.
That's a lot of equipment to be lugging around, don't you think, Brad?
You reckon they maybe, if they did stage that photo, do you reckon they just dragged all the empty cabinets in that they had for that tour or something like that? Because I couldn't imagine in a recording that you would use that many, because really, at the end of the day, maybe 2 cabinets for recording to get different, maybe 3 at the most, but you'd need some sort of splitter to run 3. So really, each head would probably run 2. So,
right. And what kind of are these Marshall cabinets with the fabric ripped off of them?
Gotta be.
They got to be Marshall, I'd say, just because of the. You can usually tell. One of them definitely is a Marshall, but they're probably all like Johnny Beans just put these. They've probably got different different speakers or something like just, trying different cabinets for different tones.
Yeah, I know he used those silver JBLs, which I have a picture of one of those coming up, which got a real bright tone out of them. But I don't know. We can't not share this, right, Andrew?
Correct.
Yeah. There's another Sunset Sound photo. So here is the setup at the Smithsonian, and this was exactly what he had on the 78 tour, which was real similar to what we see right there in the studio. So I just thought I would throw it in so people could see what we're kind of talking about here. So that's kind of cool. All right, so there is the Strat that he threw together before he put the white pick guard on it. Do you see the Telecaster pickup in the neck?
Yep.
So he literally put this guitar together right before they ran in the studio. That thing looks like it has a swimming pool route in it. But real cool photo. Look how young he is there. Real incredible. He used this on one song to get that. He called it tinny sound out of Dance the Night Away. So pretty cool photo. I mean, and that's an actual scanned copy of a photograph. You can see it's all scratched up. And then you see there's his tweed Frankie case that is so famous right back there. There's another photo of the Smithsonian. There's a photo of David Lee Roth. And David was in the isolation booth singing too, so those photos had to have been staged. All right, there's the cabinet with the JBL speakers in it right there. Now now that you guys say that they probably just brought him in, I mean, literally, this was probably in the parking lot before the photo shoot, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let me go back one.
Wow.
There's Alex's drum set. Pretty simple setup. Oh, he's got 2 gas masks and a fire extinguisher.
One for Panama red and one for Panama gold.
Maui Zowie.
Maui Zowie. Yeah.
Okay, this was taken at the Riot House, which is the Hyatt Hotel in Hollywood. And Noel Monk, when he became their manager, he lived there because I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think his wife lived in New York. And so while he was managing the band, he lived in this hotel in Hollywood. And the band would have their meetings in the hotel. Noel Monk had an office in his room, and they had a staff of 1 secretary. And she would come in the morning, and Noel would go shower, and she would get everything ready for the day. And the band all lived at home still when Noel had this hotel. So the band would go to the hotel and they would hang out by the pool. They would party at the bar. They would party in Noel's room. So it was kind of a getaway for the guys to go to it's called the Hyatt House, but they call it the Riot House. So this is a picture up on the top floor where the swimming pool is. There it is again. That's the swimming pool at the Riot House, looking out over Hollywood. You ever seen this picture, Andrew?
No.
Yeah, pretty cool. Is that better?
That's better.
The whole band right there. It looks Eddie's like acting like he's going to dive in the pool. Now, I think this was in the wintertime in LA, and I'm not sure what the weather's like in LA in the winter, but the band was always gone touring through the summer. So, they would come home in December, and then they would take off again in March, April. Okay, there's our answer right there. 1970 Marshall 4x12 cabinet. This is someone put this together, kind of showing all.
Yep, that's awesome. Though.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say they would have used a variation of cabs for the recording, definitely, because I couldn't imagine because did Ed pretty much predominantly use just his one Marshall head, didn't he?
Yeah. And he stopped taking it on tour after 1979, 1980. He stopped taking it on tour.
I mean, you could almost do the quality of the picture might go really crappy, but with the back of that Marshall head, you could almost see if there's 2 speaker cabinets plugged in.
Can you magnify that, Kurt? Please.
How's that?
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Yeah.
It's plugged in the back there, I think.
There's a pack of Winstons.
Yep. I'm pretty sure that would be 2 speaker outs at the back there. So he's obviously running at it 2 speakers. So that he would probably run 2 cabinets to get different sounds, obviously.
So he's doing that even back then. Yep.
Yeah. But look at that thing. Just one head. So he was running two cabs to get 2 different sort of sounds. And I'd say, I don't know how because I can't find any information on it. But I would say that they would have mic'd up both cabinets for his tone and just blended them on 2 separate or 3 channels or 2 channels.
Sure.
In the recording.
Okay.
Because I know he never double tracked anything because he never wanted to, did he?
No.
So he wanted to. So I'm sure they would have probably used 2 cabs to get a different blend of tones. So maybe
there's
one.
Sure, 57 right there.
Yeah. So he mic placement and cabinet. So that's how they get different sounds.
Okay.
And I read too that to get his, real heavy beefy tone, He wasn't getting the right sound out of it, so he took a box knife and cut the cloth off the front of it and put the mic right up against the speaker.
That's right.
So here he's probably had one clean tone, and then the dirty tone probably has the mic right up against the speaker itself. Just that's the way he was.
So next time you're recording, Brad, and you want to get a certain tone, just get that box cutter, go to your Marshalls behind you, and just.
Yeah, and we'll want to see the Marshall next week with the cloth off it. This is a cool picture. This is the studio with the stuff out of it, and this isn't their stuff in the bottom, but that's actually the studio itself right there. They were covering that window, which I'm assuming was going in the control room. So there's no way they would have all those speakers covering the window, right?
Can you magnify that, please, bro?
Yeah.
I think Johnny's right there. 2 cabs, 4 mics. So they would have put 2 mics on each cabinet.
Okay.
Do you want the bottom one or the top one, Andrew?
The bottom one, bro. That's okay. Fascinating. Yeah. Wow.
They had to replace the carpet after Van Halen left, as you see in the picture down below. Oh, man.
Far out.
All right, moving along here. There's a few more left, I think. This is a cool one. This is them in the control room. David with his cane, Biff Tannen cane. Eddie's drinking a can of Schlitz malt liquor, and I think since that control board's been removed and upgraded, but that's where Don Landy and Ted Templeton hung out all day.
Some American brothers. What's this? What's Schlitz? What does it taste like? Is it a full strength beer, or is it a weak beer? Is it a lager? Is it a draft?
It's a malt liquor.
What is that? That means nothing. No, it means nothing to me. What about you, Brad? What's a malt? Yeah, I don't know.
Malt liquor is a higher alcohol content, like a Pilsner.
Okay.
Typically would come in like a 40 ounce, like Old English, or
okay.
Yeah.
Forgive
me
if I'm
beer.
wrong.
Yeah, it's beer.
Okay.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a very similar desk to what Ed wanted in 5150 as well in the studio.
Yeah, he mirrored his 5150 to somewhat what they had in Sunset Sound, and there were rumors that part of the board from Sunset Sound were in 5150 Studios, but if you guys watch their YouTube shows, he says that it was piece sold to get to a bunch of other people, and it's not true.
Yeah.
Can you magnify that disc, please, Rev?
Yeah, give me a sec. Okay, what do you want to see?
The disc, please.
Right there?
Yeah.
That's as close as I can get.
Okay, that's awesome. So Don and Ted were behind there.
Mm-hmm.
Crafting their magic.
Right. Now the tape, that's a tape roll there, the green thing. Was that for taping tape together? It's oxymoron there, but taping tape.
Yeah, could be.
Alex looks pleased, doesn't he?
Yeah, like yeah. I need another beer. Kind of like.
Exactly. He probably has one down here. You just can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a Schlitz malt liquor right there, Andrew. Let me see if I can zoom in here. So it had a blue or black bowl on it. And it was kind of a poor man's, I don't want to say poor man's beer, but it wasn't, it was what the brothers drank.
Working class guys. Working class.
Yeah.
Working class beer.
Yep. That's a cool photo.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's another one of Smithsonian. All right, there's Studio One's board, which they recorded some of Van Halen 1 in, but pretty much I think it mirrors what Studio 2 is, just backwards.
Okay.
This is 1970.
Wow.
This is Studio One now, since it's been remodeled. There's Studio One again. Oh, Studio 3. Yep. But I think some of the consoles were similar. This is a cool one. Have you guys seen this? This talks about all the equipment in that photo. I can send this to you if you guys want to read it later. But yeah.
Yes, please. I've never seen
Pretty
that
cool,
figure,
huh?
bro.
Yeah. All right. There's another one of Eddie, black and white. All right. I think we're about done. Okay.
Wow, awesome. There's a lot of photos there I haven't seen, which is great.
You almost get the feel that it, looking at those photos, it provides for me, very much this album that was just made on the fly. It completely reinforces everything that we heard about that album. Nothing there is pristine, polished, and calculated. It's almost like it's been thrown in from the back of the touring bus or the van or whatever. Press play, away you go, and then go out and record. It's very organic, dirty. I love it.
Yeah, well,
when you graduate to this, maybe this will be my next gift I get you. Ted says when the band got into the studio for this recording, he couldn't believe how tighter they were compared to the first time they were in the studio. He was like, they were just tight. And he's like, 10 months on the road, really, you're forced to play excellent every time. Especially, it's different. He talks about it's different when you're in the club, when you're the only band playing, and there's a bunch of drunk people down on the floor, and there's 200-300 people there. But when you're playing in a big stadium and Journey's going to go after you, or Black Sabbath is going to go after you, you take it 110% every night, and that caused them to be tight and in sync. And he said the band was really, they had it together when they got to the studio. He was impressed.
And he's also comparing Van Halen, not to what they were doing before, but also to a lot of other acts, so on the scale of things, Van Halen were a tight band compared to, and he's comparing that to a lot of, like the Doobie Brothers and, a lot of other bands. So, yeah, all credit to Van Halen. I think you've hit the nail on the head there with that touring perspective. I don't think we can underestimate that.
Yeah.
Right. And, they took a 4-day break to Belize, and they got in and they tracked the whole thing in 6 days, which is incredible. And then I can't remember when they actually physically finished the album, but they went on tour 3 days after the album was released. Like, it was just like boom, 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 boom. And wow, there was no time off. And they did that rinse and repeat all the way to
Is it true that they just tracked, like, Ed pretty much tracked everything first take and that was it?
So he talks about it in the if you get time, Brad, before our next show, Steve Rosen 1979 interview with Eddie. So he talks about anything over 3 takes, you lose the continuity of the band. And he said, normally we take the first take, but we'll track 1 or 2 more just in case it's not good enough, or we liked one better than the other. But typically they would do it live, and they would take the first take. And Ted talks about too, where he would isolate David Lee Roth in the vocal booth, and he would have him sing along the whole time that the band was playing, and they would record it all. And because sometimes they would take some of the stuff that David was singing along to and put it in on the track, and Dave didn't know it. So they would take bits and pieces of some of the songs and just take the organic, chemistry that would come after the band jamming. And the band had headphones, and they could hear Dave singing, and they would all feed off each other.
Just touching on that, Kurt, have you got those photos up of the floor plan of Sound City or not?
Yeah. Actually, Andrew, can you pull it up?
Yeah, hold on, guys.
Probably worth showing those.
Yeah,
for people who
I thought I had it in the deck.
Yeah. For people who don't know what isolation booths are, like that, so obviously you can see on the floor plan there, which is really good.
Yeah, so the control room is there all the way to the left, and there's the window. But it was just a big room, and then I'm assuming Dave was probably in the first vocal booth with the arrow. Right? And then some of the other ones, like Ed would have his Marshall amp in, right? Or his cabinet.
Cabinets, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah. But it's amazing to think they made this record in that room, that a lot of other artists that we listen to and admire have done music in as well. It's just phenomenal. That desk that you showed before, I mean, the Doors recorded through that desk.
Yep. The Doors, the Rolling Stones, Van Morrison, Doobie Brothers. The list is long. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Wow.
Yeah, Andrew, I think we can talk maybe next show about some of the live shots. But another platinum album. It went platinum while they were out on the road. Alex Van Halen's name was missing on the first pressing of the first, I don't know how many. They missed his name on the back, which was kind of a cool thing. But
and one of the reasons why he took over, wanted to be involved in, the covers,
right?
The marketing and merchandising of the band.
Yeah.
You got the LP.
What's that?
Okay, you got the LP, haven't you? Like you've got the vinyl, haven't you?
Yeah, I just picked it up on eBay.
Has it got the inner sleeve and all that? I'd love to see it. Yeah, beautiful. Because obviously on the CD, it's the pictures are very small. So
yeah. And actually, we'll show that actually, Brad. I'm glad you brought that up.
Interesting inner sleeve.
Let me get back to that. Give me a second here, guys. I totally glad you're here.
Sorry.
Give me a second. I got to find it. Where is it? I got so many folders here. Give me a second, guys.
I pushed the wrong button.
Oh, what'd you do?
That's okay. That's all right.
I pushed everyone's wrong button, Andrew.
Yeah, I dropped you out by accident. Sorry.
Hey, you're pushing my buttons. Okay, I'll through these, but there's a little promo. Look at Alex. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. The beer.
Okay, so Brad, these are actually photos from the photo shoot for the album.
Wow.
Andrew, I don't know if you've seen any of these. I got a bunch of them. So there's the Bumblebee, which you guys know he didn't use on the album, but he got it when they made Like literally, this thing was done the day they did the album shoot. See, the guitar strap is actually a seatbelt. You guys see that? Either from a truck or from an airplane. I'm not sure. Give me a second here.
I didn't pick
Can you
that
see
up,
it?
but
Look at that.
See the big buckle. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Awesome.
Just crazy to think he's no longer here anymore. Look at that. $1 million smile. Okay, here we go. Here's some more. You zoom in on that. This one was. Look at Dave.
See, that's
Frank and Bean pants.
Dave has a lot to answer for when it comes to hair metal bands. There you go.
Exactly. But they're wearing like dancing shoes. I can't remember what those were called. There's a name for them. But they're like there's soles on them. Yeah. Okay, there's the Megazone. This is a rare one.
Wow.
Rob Johnson has one of those.
Oh.
There's Dave doing his zibbidi-bibbidi-bibbidi-bibbidi-bop. Look at that. There's a promo.
Awesome.
I think this is a record signing.
Yep.
Schlitz beer can in his hand. I think Michael Anthony gets the cool guy for that day. There's another photo shoot photo with the backdrop down there. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
A lot of people probably haven't seen that before. Let me zoom in on that, Andrew. Look at that.
Yeah.
Looks like a painting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That should have been the cover.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that.
Or even that one. What a dude.
Same day. Same day. They didn't use that. I don't know if Cobra Kai is still in the chat, but this is his favorite guitar. But look at that thing. I mean, that's just incredible. Incredible shot. Look at that. It looks like it's been filtered a little bit. Oh, there's a live shot that shouldn't have been in there. There's that one. This is promo for the album cover. They got smoke screen going, and I don't know what Eddie's doing back there, but that's a cool one. That's a live one. A live one. Another Van Halen signing. You can see they got everything all up and on the roof.
Chaos on the record store.
Yeah, and here's Dave. There's Alex right here.
Yep.
One of these signings, I don't know if it was this tour or the tour before, they showed up on Harleys in one of the towns they were in. They borrowed a bunch of Harleys from the local bike club, and they all showed up to the signing in Harley Davidsons. And then the next show they went to, they showed up in an armored car, like with masks on, like they had just robbed it. They showed up to the record store in an armored car, pulled right up front, and the band jumped out with masks on. They were just characters. What's that?
How long would typically those record signings last in the 70s, early 80s? You guys got any idea? A couple of hours?
Probably an hour or two.
Or until the crowd went away, or did they just do a runner?
They would have pushed them through, Andrew. Would have been like, yeah. I don't think
Here's
the band
Alex
would want. They wouldn't want to do more than an hour of that stuff.
Yeah.
Could I imagine? I couldn't imagine them doing 3 hours of signing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see here. Is that it? What's going on here? That must be it.
You've jammed it. You've broken the internet, Kurt.
I know. There we go. Pretty cool. I love showing those photos, man. I hope it's not like when Grandma pulls out the slideshow and everyone falls asleep.
There's a comment there. There's a comment there from Robot.
There you
I
go,
love these
Robot Master.
photos. So
My buddy.
yeah.
No, I think we all appreciate it because it puts you in the zone as well when you're looking at them.
Well, yeah, it's
So
given
I
that
have
backdrop, isn't it?
Yeah, I have one of those external hard drives, and since the internet came out, I have like 5,000 photos, boys, that I've been collecting since '98. So I'm a nerd. I told you I'm a nerd.
Well, that's the stuff that everyone wants to see, you know.
Yeah. And then when stuff comes out on Twitter or Instagram that I haven't seen, I'm saving it, adding it to it. So I just need to get in, like, label it all so I can separate it, you know. Right now it's all just off memory, which takes forever. But I kind of wish I would have done it for some of the earlier shows, but I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. We can go back and renegotiate that. But I think there's one comment I want to make, and we have to remember this, is that, you know, that transition, and I think we spoke about this on a couple of shows previous about the transition that the band went from the 70s to the 80s, from wearing flares and high heel platforms to, you know, wearing sneakers and jeans, you know, as far as a fashion point of view. But it also gives you an idea of the transition too, from music, from that disco kind of funk, you know, to as you said earlier, Rev, to a new wave inspired kind of jaunt that we were going to experience in music. And certainly Van Halen captivated or caught that new wave vibe when Sammy joined. Yeah. But you know, that disco, bell bottoms, flares, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you got to remember that was part of the scene back then.
Right. Oh, Nerd Halen's in here. Andrew, I know we talked, but I would love to have Caleb maybe join us for one of the shows in the future too.
Yeah.
Caleb has an open invitation. Absolutely. To jump on.
I know our time frame's perfect for him.
You jack it up, bro. You jack it up, and he can come on.
All right. Well, Caleb, I'll get a hold of you.
We can do
What's that?
We can do a Nerd Halen show. 5150 show.
There's plenty of content to talk about that.
Yeah.
He says I'll come on now. Bring him on.
Send him a link. Send him a link, guys. Send him a link.
Yeah, let me send him a link.
So
all right, you guys take over.
I hope everyone in the chat is doing their homework for next week's ranking the tracks. So we're going to rank the tracks of this wonderful album. And also, if you're in the chat and you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe, thumbs up, all that stuff, because we are giving away a T-shirt of your choice from the Van Halen store. We're going to draw once we get to 500 people on our channel.
Yeah, and we've got another competition after that one in the planning as well. So,
Caleb, I sent you a link via Instagram. So if you want to jump on, I think maybe we'd love to hear your opinion of this album and maybe how it influenced you and maybe where it ranks.
As far actually, yeah, how, you know, playing the songs, the feeling he gets back from the crowd. Like, is it, that's something that I always like. The music itself is so energetic. Does he feel that back? I mean, they do it so well, because I've seen all the footage online of Nerd Halen. I just wish that Nerd Halen were in Australia, or I was able to go watch them, like travel and go watch them, because fantastic.
Hey, Quentin.
I love what they do.
Thank you, Teresa,
Yeah.
for the nice words.
And there is, when we get into the tracks in 2 weeks, when we do it, there's some special
Brian.
riffs that Eddie does on this album.
Yeah.
You could repeat it every album, but he always had something new, and everyone was always surprised. Or I'm sure back then people were anticipating the album coming out, waiting for what Eddie was going to do to sweep people off their feet. But
Yeah.
like the volume swells that he did on this album, he did it 2 or 3 times, which was fairly new. And I remember listening to an interview where someone asked him if he was using a volume pedal, or if they were doing it in the studio, and he says, "No, I'm using my guitar." And they were just they couldn't believe it. Like, that must have been an uncommon thing back then to use the volume knob as an effect. So
Yeah.
kind of cool. It's a
It's funny
79.
because the way we do these ranking of the tracks, it makes you appreciate some of the songs you overlooked for so long a lot more. That's one thing I picked up through previous albums and doing this one. I don't want to spoil it for the next show, but what I'm saying is there's a couple of songs on this record that I always thought, well, that's okay, but now I absolutely think they're the highlights of the record. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and there's a duddle too.
Really?
Well, I shouldn't say a dud. There's, we won't. No, we're not going to rank. We're not saying anything. We're just going to talk about the album generally. Here he is.
Yeah.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Nerd Halen, all the way from the west coast of the United States of America.
Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
How's the sound? I always get bitched at for my sound.
You'll never get
Sound
bitched
good.
at from us.
Okay. Good to see you guys.
Hey,
Hey,
Caleb.
you too. Man. Thanks for jumping in.
Yeah, no problem. This is this is a fantastic record. A lot of super fans. This is their favorite record. Not fair warning.
Mhm.
This one, and it's because it's still their original material, but there's a few things that they came up with for the album, and they've obviously been, they just came off playing 180 shows in a year, and they're at top form, and Dave's voice on this record is as good as any Van Halen record. You could argue that his voice started to go after this record. In fact, he probably destroyed half of it recording this record, and maybe even recording Out of Love Again. So
Yeah.
it's different. His tone on this record, Edward's tone on this record, is different than all the other Van Halen albums. It's so obvious. I've heard Dave Friedman refer to it as his favorite EVH tone of all time, because it sounds like it's about to explode. It's about to rupture. It's about to rip cabinets apart. It's just pushed to the max. And I could go on and on. I don't know if you guys know Butch. This is his favorite record. This is the record that he remembers the day he bought it, and he refers to it as Edward Van Halen, and then he became Eddie Van Halen. And Edward Van Halen, gave no fucks, and he's right. The solos on this record are top notch. And there's not a lot of trickery. There's not a lot of check me out stuff. It's just pure
No.
ripping, and it's it's very complete. There's so many different kinds of songs on it. They have a mega hit in Dance the Night Away. They have the fun shuffle, Boogie and Beautiful Girls, and
Yeah.
they have a great cover of the Linda Ronstadt song, and there's like I said, Out of Love Again, which is Alex Van Halen. If you listen to that song, it's Alex
Yep.
Van Halen song.
Yep.
And Dave's song. Dave's vocal on that might arguably be his best vocal of his life. And it's almost like he's his own instrument on that song.
I'm gonna try to count the hoots, whatever you want to call them, squeals that Dave does on this record. He does it so many times. The screams or whatever.
Right.
I'll have to count them, but he just they're all over the record.
Yeah, he's literally destroying his voice recording this
Caleb.
record. Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, bro, but there's a couple of people in the comments asking, can you please just turn your mic up a little bit? They're having a little bit of difficulty hearing you. We can hear you here, but
Okay.
the cats in the chat.
Better?
Yeah.
How's this?
So,
Hello.
Caleb,
How's that, guys?
Yep.
I think you're good. You bring up a good point. I think on the first record, Don Landy and Ted Templeton were like, how are we going to capture this sound? Like that's what they're thinking with Eddie. And on this record, they captured it for sure. Like they were dumbstruck and they didn't know what to do and they were trying to figure it out. And on this record, they got a hold of it.
They dialed it in for sure.
Yeah.
And they had a well-oiled machine at that point. I mean, you could argue they were well-oiled at the beginning of 78, or the end of 77 when they recorded it. But after a year of touring and completely annihilating Black Sabbath and Journey and Montrose, for an entire calendar year, every night.
Journey.
With a single mission to take over the world, they were ready to go. And when they, there was lightning to capture when they came back. And, it's, I'm just so glad we have these records, that it changed my life. I don't know if I would have liked music if I didn't hear these records. It's just crazy to say. I mean, I did like music before Van Halen, but I don't know if I would have stuck with it. I don't know if I would have,
So where was Van Halen too, Caleb, in the sequence of Van Halen albums for you? I know you've mentioned it before on other shows, but maybe you can just tell us how you came to Van Halen 2 in the course of becoming a Van Halen fan. If you'd like to share that, that'll be cool.
Sure. I mean, I hope do you have an hour or something? No.
I do.
I became, let's see, my first concert was a Hank Williams Jr. show, actually, in West Palm Beach, Florida. And it was because my father was a screenwriter and he wrote a TV movie about Hank's book, A Living Proof. And so he was researching and hanging out with Hank Williams Jr. for a few weeks, and we all went down on New Year's Eve to West Palm Beach, and I must have been 10 years old, and that was my first live concert experience. I barely remember it, but it was pretty cool because we had all access, and I remember that part. And then about 9 months later, in the fall of '81, I was back east with my cousins, and we went to Great Adventure in New Jersey to see Rick Springfield, who had the #1 song in the world at that time with Jesse's Girl. And I remember that show just getting the idea that this was live rock and roll and how it was affecting people, and how much control he had over the crowd. He was a great performer, and the songs were good. And then so I remember getting that album and listening to it back and forth, and I remember seeing actually in the liner notes, that this somebody named Sammy Hagar wrote, I've done everything for you, which was my favorite song on the record. And I thought it was weird that it was the only song that had a different writer, I think, on the whole record. And it was this guy, Sammy Hagar, and I didn't know who that was. And so that was 81. And then a few months later, I knew that the Tattoo You tour was going on. And because of all the amazing photos of those shows, that I think that's arguably the greatest rock and roll tour of all time. The 1981 Rolling Stones tour. I think 1981 is the greatest year in rock music, arguably. There are so many amazing albums that came out that year, and tours, and just rock music was just everything at that point. Remember REO Speedwagon and and the Stones and Journey. They had these huge albums and songs, and so I remember the end of the Tattoo You tour. They had a pay-per-view event on TV. I don't know if you remember On TV in America, but they played a show in Hampton, Virginia, at an arena, and it was all access before the show. And I remember they were backstage with the band, and then they went onto the stage, and we taped it. We put it on a VHS tape and recorded that. And I must have watched that Rolling Stones concert, 150 times. And, I knew I wanted to be a rock performer. I think I wanted to be Mick Jagger. And it wasn't until the following year, 82, that I got into the Who. And then I ditched school at the age of 13. And went to the Who concert at the LA Coliseum with 90,000 people. A few of us ditched school. We got a ride from a teacher's assistant down to the Coliseum. Didn't tell my parents until we were in line. I called them from a payphone and said, "Look, I'm not at school. I'm not coming home. I'm going to see the Who at the Coliseum." I'm 13 years old. And
oh man.
And they were pissed, and they picked me up that night, and I was grounded for a while, but it was worth it. That's when I knew I wanted to play an instrument that night. I knew I wanted to play drums, or guitar. Pete Townsend was an electrifying performer. And so I got into the Who, and that was late 82. And right around that time, Pretty Woman and Little Guitars were really big on the radio, Dancing in the Streets. So I remember going and buying, because I was buying a lot of records. I bought Diver Down, and went over to a friend's house, and he had Van Halen 1 and 2, because I was into Diver Down. And he said, "Oh, dude, you got to hear 1 and 2. And he played Eruption for me. That's the first time I heard Eruption. So, and I didn't even know what to think. I didn't know what to think. That was just, I don't know what that is. What is that?
Makes Intruder seem like nothing.
You just didn't, you couldn't even wrap your mind around what he was doing, because you couldn't see it. There wasn't any video of it. You couldn't see him doing it. Like, we had nothing to go on back then. Nothing.
Thought he was playing keyboards.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember we didn't even have MTV yet. It was out, but we didn't have it in our area of Los Angeles. They didn't have it in the cable company. So we still had Night Flight was where it was on the USA Network. And that's where we got to see rock videos. And it was only like on Friday and Saturday night late. And that's where I first saw those Oakland songs. So This Is Love and Unchained.
Yeah.
And And that whole year in '81, I was fascinated with arenas, just stadiums and arenas. I thought they were like, I used to draw stadiums as a kid because I was into
Yeah, I was
sports
gonna
and stuff.
say Arena Rock when you talked about REO Speedwagon and
Yeah.
Journey and the Who. That was Arena Rock, you know.
But I would study like the venues in Los Angeles, like the Forum and the Sports Arena and the Long Beach Arena. I would study like all their seats and where they put their seats for the stage and for the hockey games. I was just weird like that. And I remember in this book that had all those seating charts, it had pictures of rock shows, and it had a picture of the Fair Warning tour. And that's when I saw Alex's kit.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I was just like, what the fuck is that? 4 bass drums? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And, all those speakers, and it just was huge. And I was fascinated by them. And so when I went to my friend's house and heard the first 2 records, I traded a Kinks record for those 2 old scratched records.
Oh,
That's
no
a
way.
good deal.
And I took those home. So I had 3 albums now. I had 1, 2, and Diver Down.
You scored.
And then by March of '83, we had a friend. My father's a screenwriter, and we had friends in the business, and we had a friend who was an assistant director on One Day at a Time.
Yeah.
And we would go to those tapings once or twice a season for the previous couple of years. And so in March of '83, March 18th, 1983, we went to the final, the end of the year wrap party show, the final show of the season. And we went and sat in the bleachers in the soundstage. And I remember just getting up and taking a walk because I like to do stuff like that. I didn't care about rules. And I went around to the back of the stage. And I saw the kid on the show, this guy named Glenn Scarpelli. He was the kid on the show. And he saw me and he goes, "Oh my God, a kid." Because he's working with adults all day. And he just like introduced himself and wanted to know who I was and who I was friends with. And we're in the green room area, which was just right behind the set. And they have a bunch of director's chairs with all the actors' names on them. And I remember seeing this one director's chair that had Eddie written in tape. And I asked Glenn, I goes, "Is he going to be here?" And he goes, "Who, Eddie? Yeah. You want to meet him?" And a few minutes later, Edward and Alex walked in and sat down right there with me, smoking.
And Caleb, how old are you again?
13 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. Just, and it was obviously life-changing. I spent the next 3 hours while they taped the show sitting with the Van Halen brothers talking about everything, and asking very stupid questions and really good questions. And, and the whole time I remember just the vibe of, they never were looking around going like, "Who the fuck is this kid? Get rid of him." They never did that. And if people want to know the whole story, I wrote it out 4 days after Ed passed. I wrote out a whole description of that night because it all came back to me. I was really thinking about that because that was the night where my whole life completely changed, and I basically became this I don't know, apprentice. I became his, like we all are. We worshiped him, but I started chasing him that night. I went home, and it was purely because of how sweet and nice he was to me. It wasn't about his music. It wasn't about his talent. It was about what kind of human being he was, and how he related to me, and how he made me feel like a he made me feel special because, and I believe he knew his power. He knew what kind of power he had. He could have been a dick, and he could have ruined everyone's impression of him in a second. But he went the opposite way. He wanted to be,
Wow.
look, and I don't think it was on purpose. I think he genuinely liked meeting people, liked
He
looking
loves
them in the
kids.
eye,
He loves
liked
kids.
looking people in the eye, shook your hand with a grip, held on to it. And I remember him asking me stuff like where I grew up in town, what sports I liked, if I played an instrument, you know, um, normal questions. But
Caleb, real quick, do you
yeah,
remember? Did you guys read the article with Mitch Malloy recently on Rolling Stones?
no,
Oh, you got to read it.
okay,
Incredible article. But when Mitch Malloy got out of the limo in 5150, the first thing Ed did was take off Mitch Malloy's sunglasses, and he said, "I just want to look in your eyes." That's what he told him. And then he put his sunglasses back on him and kissed him.
mm-hmm.
Kissed his cheeks.
That's
But
what I
like
remember most. That's what I remember
he
most
wanted
is
to
he,
guys.
and everyone says like, oh my God, if I ever met him, I would freeze and I don't know what I would do. I'd probably shit my pants. But he literally just looks you in the eye and you just become human and regular and normal. And before you know it, you're in a regular conversation with him, and he happens to be Eddie Van Halen, just happens to be, but he's just right there present with you and, wants that contact. It was surreal. And I'll
He's probably
never
dying
forget
for it.
it. Yeah, I went home because I really didn't know what he was doing yet as far as his technique and his gifts and stuff. I knew he was considered the greatest, but I didn't know why. So when I went home, I started listening really closely, and looking at my posters closer. It was, that was a night I didn't sleep.
Wow.
I was on a mission, and I'd already had an acoustic guitar that I kind of shelved.
It's in the closet.
And the next night I showed up at the dinner table with an ad for a guitar I wanted, and I would just put the ad next to my plate at the dinner table. And then like I did that for 2 weeks, put the cutout ad of a magazine where, this Aria Pro 2, it was an Explorer shaped guitar called a Double Z. And
No way.
I just put it right next to my plate every night at the table. So I'm just sitting there eating, and there's the ad for the guitar. And they finally bit, and I, started my journey, 8 hours a day, at least until I was 20, from 13 to 20. So I missed a lot of life, but it was pure passion, pure, had to get that feel. I had to chase that feel. I wasn't even about the notes and the licks and the soloing and the note for note. I just wanted to have the feel he had.
Wow.
That's what I thought was cool. And I actually, he taught me how to treat people that night. He taught me how to be a person with other people. Like, I mean, I think I already was pretty good at it, but that night I knew that you look people in the eye, you shake their hand with a grip, you ask them questions, you listen, all these things that I learned from Eddie Van Halen had nothing to do with guitar or music. It just had just the way he was, the way he, and if you read all the interviews and with people, famous people, not famous people who've met him, they all have the same story. He made them feel like a friend, like a regular person. There was no rock and roll, there was no bullshit, which is the irony because he's in a band with David Lee Roth, which is the complete, other side of the spectrum of that.
Right.
And that,
Oil
so
and
yeah,
water.
that,
Oil
so
and
that,
water. Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say we were talking the other day on the Fruitcake Tony's Halen bill where sometimes in his interview, the one with Jazz, where he's like, "Sorry, do you have time for this? Is this a bad time? Do you want to hear this?" This is Eddie telling the interviewer this. Like, am I wasting your time? And that's like, that was him. Like, he really truly cared about other people. And Caleb, I think when you met him at that point in his life, I didn't kid yet. I think he was probably dying for that attention with someone that didn't want to ask him a bunch of guitar questions or a bunch of Van Halen questions.
Yeah.
That was his time to be able to hang out with someone and be human. And you got to do that with him. Just super cool.
Yeah, no, it's, and then there was Alex, who was just cracking dirty jokes, in front of a 13-year-old and trying to shock me, trying to shock me. And, I remember they asked me about what kind of music I liked, and I told them I was a real big Who fan, and that, I just saw them at the Coliseum with 90,000 people. And I remember Alex right away saying, "We opened for the Stones and played for 80, or something like that." Like, he had to say like something like that. Like, we've done a show like that, and, big stadium show. It was pretty funny. He's, Alex is, the fact that those two guys were in a family together with the kind of personalities and they're very smart people, geniuses. They were literal geniuses in their art, and just, they came here with nothing. They had to adapt. They had to get an edge, and that forces you into do some stuff that, that makes it, you either have a really special life or you don't. And they wanted to make it. And, but they had something no one else had. They had the connection between the two of them, which is Van Halen, like it or not. Van Halen is the connection between those two, and even right down to their right hands, like right down to those limbs on those bodies. And that's why we connect with it, because they're so locked in together, and there'll never be another connection like that between two people in a band, before or since. And I'm just happy it all happened. People are sad and bummed and depressed, and don't like to see pictures of him or stories. And I'm like, dude, just be glad it all happened, and we got to be there for it.
So Caleb,
yeah.
Can you explain to us? Some people may not be aware of this. So you've gone full circle now that you're part of the Van Halen family. You're an artist, a Van Halen part of the family. I think that's what they call it. So how did you feel when you became part of the
EVH.
Van Halen family? EVH, yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't marry into the family or anything like that. I don't see them at Christmas parties, or I don't have their phone numbers. But when the nerd Halen thing, started to resonate and get some legs, I go to the NAMM show every year, and let's see, NAMM 2019. I was just getting going. We hadn't played a show yet, but I'd already faked everybody out by thinking we were a band and happening by that point. But we literally had just had our first rehearsal as the four of us a few weeks earlier. But by that point, I'd done so much promotion online and fooling of everyone, and I'd give advice to people trying to start something. Just fake it till you make it. The internet is a wonderful thing. You can make it look like your band is happening, man, and nothing's happening, but you can make it look like it's happening. It's a really, it was really fun and exciting to do it that way. But I remember going to the NAMM show in 2019 and going to the EVH booth and talking to Matt Brown, the product development guy, and mentioning, I'd love to be, an artist and with you guys, when Nerd Halen really starts kicking, and he's like, hey, let's see, like, we'll see. And so that whole 2019 year, we played 10 shows, had a really good run, and it was really picking up, obviously, until things changed the following year. But I remember going to the NAMM show in January 2020, and I had some notoriety by then, and it was so weird because I was getting recognized walking around there, and that was crazy to me because I didn't understand how many people knew about the band by that point, and that's when I really knew, like, wait a minute, whoa, this is working.
This can
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I was introduced at the NAMM show to Mike Tempesta, who is the artist relations for Fender, and he's the artist. He mainly is with Charvel Jackson EVH, and I was introduced to him by Jason McNamara. Thank you, Jason.
Cool.
Face to face right there. And Jason told Mike about me, and told him about the band. And Mike was like, cool. Tell me a little about it. And so I told him, what we do and how we dress, and that Hal Sparks was our singer. And he was like, Hal Sparks, really? And he said, why don't you, after this is over, send me an email next week, and, we'll talk. And I was like, okay. And, the week went by, and I wrote him a whole email and, gave it my best pitch. And he got back to me saying, give me a call. Let's talk about what kind of arrangement you want to make with us. And I remember getting on the phone with him, and he said, EVH doesn't endorse any artist. There's no endorsement, because that means, technically it's a payment thing.
Right.
But we have artist relationships. And so, I waited another week. And then I got a message from him, an email saying, okay, we'd like to have you. We talked a little bit about what I would expect, because I was like, what would you want from us? And I'm like, well, I'd want some instruments and some amps. And,
where do I start?
what do I say? And I didn't ask for anything really, but I remember saying something like, I'd love to have some backline. I'd love to have a bunch of cabinets available. And he goes, oh, we do that. You can go pick up these dummy cabinets and use them for photo shoots and videos and gigs, in the area anytime you want.
Yeah.
So, that was offered to me, and, a free instrument a year, and artist pricing. And
cool.
So he asked me, which instrument I wanted. That was the first thing he asked me, like, we're going to send you one. Which one do you want? And the Frankie had just come out, and I said, I'm getting that one. And and then it took a while. Then obviously things went south in the world, and it took till July. I was quoted May getting that thing, and it took till July to come, when I was told October. Right. So one day it just showed up. They didn't even give me a heads up or anything. And then he told me, like, we pushed all the artists to the front of the line with those so we could get them out and get them on social media and stuff. And that was surreal to actually receive that guitar and love it. I was really afraid because I made it seem like I'll make it my main guitar. And I already have these great builds that I've done that I absolutely love. And they play and sound amazing, and I put a lot of love and care into them. And I was really kind of nervous because I was like, I'm going to have to play a guitar that I'm not going to like, and I'm going to have to play it, and that's going to suck. Because how do you get a free Frankenstein and not want to use it? You know, if it's garbage.
Right.
And you know, as fate would have it, as Alex always said, the guitar is fantastic, and it's almost like, and people have said this, it was Edward's last gift to us, by making this, you know, making this instrument available in the way it is, and the way it looks, and the way it feels. The neck on
Good
it
point.
is something really special, and everyone who's held it and played it, the first thing they talk about is the neck. There's something very, very special about the guitar and the neck, and I absolutely love it. And
You just
no
answered
problem.
my question I was going to ask. Because I've built 2 guitars. I have a Eruption white and black Frankie and a 5150, and I want to build a red Frankie, but
Mm-hmm.
the neck intrigues me. Like, I want to buy one just because I've heard about the neck, and I'm afraid I can't duplicate it, and so that's why I want to buy one.
You can't. It's just, you know, when you look down at a guitar like this and you're playing it, you feel like you're in someone else's body, and you know who that someone is. And
Right.
they didn't mess around making this guitar. I did a few little changes up here because it comes cosmetically off on the upper horn.
Right, it looks good. That looks good.
I literally put like gaffer's tape here, just white and black, just to make it right. But I haven't changed a thing. I mean, I added a big block in the back, and I added the reflectors.
Yeah, I saw that live.
And I added the quarter. And, but the pickups of stock Wolfgang bridge pickup sounds amazing, and I didn't want to touch it.
90% of your videos are with that guitar since you've gotten it.
Yeah, well, because I want EVH to know that I'm on their team, and
it's awesome.
It's awesome. Like, the guitar is fantastic, and I'm very happy about it. And they just sent me another one. So
I have to say, I've watched your Instagram videos a million times.
Thanks. Wow.
And well done, man. You do such a good job. It's so hard to, you know, that's a lifetime of dedication what you do.
I'll tell you something. I find myself screenshotting a lot of the comments I get, because it's surreal to me that you know, before the internet, before, you know, the Johnny Bean world, I was alone in my Van Halen love. I was literally alone. You know, the high school I went to everyone was new wave and punk, and I was the only Van Halen guy, and I got made fun of. You know, people would walk by me in the halls going, you know, like that. And
I was the same way. No one liked it.
We all were, but we didn't have each other, and now we have each other. So, you know, what I'm receiving now at the age of 51, in notoriety and you know, like Brad, what you just said, you know, it's what I've so longed for as a 17, 18-year-old, you know, that what just wasn't there for me, and felt like a complete outcast. And I was, you know, I spent 8 hours, 9 hours a day in my bedroom just trying to cop that feel. And, you know, it took, 30,000, 40,000 hours to get somewhat close. And there's guys that are closer, and, but it's really nice to be in the conversation.
It's
an honor,
man.
It's an honor, you know. It's a pure honor to be mentioned. You know, there's a guy named Jude Gold. I don't know if you know the name. He's the lead guitarist for the Starship now, and I met him at the Whiskey, at Ultimate Jam Night at the Whiskey, which is where I actually built Nerd Halen from people at that jam, and I just like infiltrated the whole thing. I didn't know anybody, and I just did my thing, snuck around here, walked back there, talked to this person,
Get lost.
and, but I met Jude there, and I remember when I told him about Nerd Halen, he just went like, "What?" Like, and then what I realized after a long time after doing this, several months or even a year and a half, a lot of guys wish they thought of this idea, Nerd Halen, and because you either do the full, wigs and tights and amp stats
that everyone else is doing.
or trying to do, or you can't do it. It doesn't look right. And I found another way that matched me. I've told people I could not look like Eddie Van Halen on stage. I'm 6'4". I'm lanky. If I put a wig on, I'd look like Howard Stern. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work, and I had to find another way into this. And I never knew I would do a Van Halen tribute band. It's almost like I backed into it. Just do what because I have this style, and it's very close to his, and it's a blessing and a curse. And I figured out a way to make it a blessing. And, a lot of people say that the choices I make playing, it's almost like, he's live, cause he never plays the way he plays live. And I never try and play it exactly like him on the record. Cause first of all, it's impossible. And second of all, that's not fun. Fun is making it seem like he's trying something different. And what would Eddie do? That kind of thing. And Jude Gold he's a writer for Guitar Player magazine. He has like a monthly column or whatever. He wrote a story about Eddie Van Halen a few months ago, and towards the end of the article, he mentioned like 6 or 7 guys that are carrying the torch and stuff, and he included me, and it was cool. Just fucking mind-blowing to see my name in Guitar Player magazine, after Pete Thorne, and I mean, fucking what? It doesn't even compute. So
no, well, you've earned it, mate, because you do such a great job at it. It's amazing.
Well, I mean,
I remember you were on another show. I think it was a Johnny Bean show, Caleb, and you were talking early on. It was an early gig for Nerd Halen, and who's the cat from Weezer came to check you out, and you're playing, and you're going, holy cow!
Right.
Can you tell us about that, because that's an amazing story too.
Yeah. This is so in September of 19, I heard about Weezer and Green Day and Fall Out Boy playing at the Whiskey, secret show. So I was in the neighborhood at that when I knew that tickets would go on sale, because they did like just an instant lineup and wristbands, and then you were fucked if you didn't get there. So I actually jumped in line and got a ticket, waited for 4 hours and got my wristband, and then went back that night. And I remember seeing Weezer play. I even tossed a Nerd Halen shirt. I had 3 Nerd Halen shirts, or 2 that I brought in with me, because I wanted to toss one to Rivers and I wanted to toss one to Billy Joe, and I remember tossing the shirt. No one picked it up, and but I remember, that was like one of the most amazing live experiences. That small club, the Whiskey, packed with real fans, not corporate, nothing. Just everyone there was a real fan, and they waited a long time to get in. It was crazy, but it was awesome, and cut to 3 months later in December, and we have a Wednesday night 8:30 gig at the Viper Room on Sunset Strip, which is just a block away from the Whiskey. And maybe 35 people there, you know, and we're playing, and the second song I'm playing, and I look out, and then like just, you know, 10 feet back, almost dead center, it's Rivers, and you know, staring right at me, and I was just like, whoa.
Wow.
You know, it was unbelievable, and he stayed the whole show looking right at me the whole time and didn't budge. I think he was scoping us, you know, tracking us. He wanted to see, because you know, they had a record that was supposed to come out at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I was going to look up.
The bullshit that was like a Van Halen style record, Van Weezer, I think it was called.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't even know if it was released. I don't know if they went ahead with it or anything.
I've heard. Yeah, it's out. Oh no, coming out May 7th. But I've heard some songs.
Yeah. There you go. So that's been pushed a year right there. So, but I think he heard the words Nerd Halen, and he was, you know, what's going on here? You know, had to know what it was.
He's going to pick up some tricks
I don't
trade
know.
from you.
No, I think he wanted to see if we were close to theirs, you know, or whatever, you know. When, you know, maybe he was with his lawyer or something. I don't know. But the show ended and he was gone into the night. So he came
Batman.
just to see what was up, and then left. And but that was surreal to me. That's when I really realized, like, whoa, we got something, and people know about it. And it's you know, there's only the sky's the limit, you know. And
Right.
You know, I'm hoping that we can get it rolling again soon, because it's been a really long year, and you guys have seen what I've been trying to do just to keep it alive.
Mm-hmm.
Every video I put out is not me trying to dick out and show off. It's literally just trying to keep Nerd Halen out there,
alive.
you know, in the mix, and the reactions are great. Everybody from a lot of places in a lot of countries send messages. They want us to come, and
Australia.
I have no idea. Yeah. Oh, dude, I get to bring my guitar and play in Australia and New Zealand. I mean, it just doesn't even seem like a real life moment. It would be a total dream. And I mean, if someone told me this years ago, I'd be like, right, bullshit, you know?
Yeah, over a year. But we're praying. You know, Brad's in the same boat with his profession. You know, he's in the same boat as you are, and we're praying for this thing to be over, so both of you guys, can get back on stage and do what you need to do to, you know, propel your career to the direction that you're deemed to be. You know,
it'll happen. I think you know, my theory's always been it's gonna be better than ever. When you take something like live music and live experience away from the world, when you give it back to them, eventually it'll be better than it ever was.
So are you prepared? Are you prepared, Caleb, to go on the road when everything opens up? Is that something that you guys are planning?
Well, I mean, the honest to God truth is, although I've been a tour manager for another band, I've never put together any kind of tour in my life, so I wouldn't know what to do. It would have to be, you know, some sort of booker situation. We'd have to, you know, get really good guarantees to get guys like Hal Sparks and myself and people to leave their jobs and their families to go do something like that. It's not something I could afford to do for breaking even, you know, it wouldn't work for me or
it's a big gamble.
other people. But to fly here, fly there, play this casino, this corporate. Those are things we've always been interested in and always, kind of designed the band for. I don't think there's a Comic-Con on Earth that Nerd Halen shouldn't play.
Right.
And I don't think there's a wedding or a bar mitzvah that we shouldn't play either. So, that we did 10 shows in the Southern California area. I'd be fine never playing an LA show again as long as I can go somewhere and get paid and play this music.
Cool.
I've always said playing this music with a band at concert volume is like flying a jet fighter. It literally feels like you're flying and fast, and you're close to death. But it's amazing.
You're on the edge, ready to, like a train ready to come off the tracks, but it never does.
Yeah. It's pure, and we open with Unchained every time, and it's just the greatest feeling song to play in the world, and at full volume, there's nothing better. So
I was just about to ask you that, Caleb. What out of all the songs you guys have played, what would be your favorite to play? Not a fan favorite, but your favorite to play.
Changes, it changes. I love the challenge of Hot for Teacher every night.
That's mine right there. You guys do that amazing.
It is such a force of nature, and I've always said I think that song is the greatest 3-instrument 1-pass recording in history. If they did it sounds like it's the three of them. I've heard stories that it's Eddie playing bass on a different track, but I just want to believe that the three guys hit the record button and went all the way through that song, and they did it like on take 3, and they finished and they went and went back into the room and listened to it, because to me it's perfect all the way through. And so Hot for Teacher is probably the most fun and the most challenging in the set for sure. Because
and if you guys haven't checked it out, I'm not sure, Caleb, what show you guys have on YouTube, but I've watched it on YouTube. It's
there's
amazing.
A couple of versions. There's a couple of versions of it. One at the Viper Room that night was a really good version. That solo I did that night, it really worked out well. And Hal,
those of you in the chat, check it out.
Yeah, where Hal does this thing where I finish that solo and get back into the that's part, and he looks at me and goes, "That looked like it hurt." And
you even play pool parties, Caleb. There's a gig with you at a pool party too, so that's awesome as well.
That was fun. Very hot day, and there was a hilarious moment in that where a woman fell asleep in her beach chair, and I was wireless, and during jump I went all the way around the pool and stood right over her chair while she was sleeping, and then I like sort of nudged her knee right when the solo started, and she woke up looking up, and I'm playing the solo to jump.
Oh my god!
And everybody in the area is just loving it, and she's just like, where am I? And there's just a little video someone caught like the tail end of it. It was hilarious. Great moment. So I'm having a blast. It's
all right. As a huge fan, Caleb, what's your favorite song of Van Halen 2? Since we're doing this album.
Well, it's so hard. So hard. I mean, because it's always changed,
All right, current favorite.
Current favorite would be Light Up the Sky. It's such a favorite that we've never played it, but we're gonna play it when we come back. We have to. It's too good.
It's hard to beat Woman in Love too, isn't it? I just love
you
that
dance the
song.
night away in the set because it's a hit, and girls love it and people sing along, and we actually go in the middle of it. We go into that Leo Sayer song, "You Make Me Feel Like Dancing." We do a chorus, a verse and a chorus from that, and then we get to the dancing, dancing, dance the night away, and we get the crowd to kind of call and answer. And then on like the fourth one, when they say "dance the night away," and we go right, dun, 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 and we go right back into it. So that's fun. "Beautiful Girls," always a great song. His rhythm during the verse for me was always like pure Brown sound. I always thought that verse riff that he plays is spectacular. I like Women in Love is a great song. Obviously Out of Love Again. So those three, I believe, are my favorites.
So did you guys know that Light Up the Sky was almost in a movie?
No.
So a movie in 1979 called Over the Edge with Matt Dillon. The band went and watched.
You Really Got Me. They used really.
Oh,
really
they did?
Me. Yeah.
Okay, so the band went and watched the premiere, and they were going to use Light Up the Sky at the end. And Eddie actually said he didn't think the movie was very good and it wasn't going to win any Oscars, so they decided not to waste the song on the movie. So they must have given him "You Really Got Me." But yeah, Light Up the Sky was supposed to be in that movie.
They probably just turned him down, and then they used "You Really Got Me" because they wanted to.
Warner Brothers had sponsored that movie. Yeah,
there you
financed it or something.
So they were going to give him a song.
Yeah,
they gave him
regardless
a song
of what they said.
Halen didn't write. So,
right. But yeah, for me, Ice Cream Man, Beautiful Girls, and Hot for Teacher. Those three songs are like, the best of all best party songs for.
Oh, dude, when they came back in 08, 07, 08, and they played Beautiful Girls, like,
yeah.
And they played I'm the One, I was just floored. My head exploded. I saw that tour 5 times. So it was insane. I thought we'd never see them together again. So when that was happening, the whole, I knew what happened in 04. I purposely missed that tour because I didn't want to see him in that shape. I knew what was happening, and so I skipped it. And to have them come back the way they did, and I really, everyone has to thank Wolf for doing what he did. That wouldn't have happened without Wolfgang. Period.
Right.
I think we mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. Eddie wouldn't have lived much longer without his son giving him that opportunity to play with him, and it just wouldn't have turned out like it did if Wolfgang didn't say, "You know what? These old records with Dave are awesome," and that changed everything. So, you gotta give it up to Wolfgang, and man, am I so happy about what's going on with him and what's coming and what we've heard, and it's going to be incredible. I love that he's his own person and his own artist, and has nothing to do with Van Halen, and I think that is just so hard to do. It's just so hard. He had everything stacked against him, the biggest shadow of all the shadows to step out of. Literally, the biggest shadow in rock and roll is Eddie Van Halen's shadow, and this kid comes out with that record, with those songs, does it all himself, has that voice, has that songwriting ability. I don't, you know, I couldn't imagine it turning out better than it's coming, you know, and people are going to hear. So,
All right.
and
Not
see,
to deviate away from Wolfgang, but real quick back
Yeah.
to the whole him playing with Ed thing. The true fans, or a lot of the fans, you know, are real down on the whole Michael Anthony piece with him, quote unquote, not being with the band the last few years. But
Mhm.
dang, man, like if you give Eddie a
Yeah,
break, he wanted to play with his son. Like
yeah, that
he
sucks. Look,
he
it
was on his
sucks.
way out. Like
It
it's a
sucks
blessing that
because
he got to do it.
yeah,
I think
it
Michael
sucks.
Anthony took a back seat on purpose. My opinion. Maybe,
I
you know.
I think that with certain people, if you're out, you're out, and with Edward, you know, if you're out, you're out, and obviously we've seen that. Like, look how long it took him
He didn't
to
get
reconnect
second
with family.
chances.
No, I mean he does, but it takes forever, right?
Right.
And it takes like your son saying, "Let's call Dave." He would have never.
He says,
called
"You
Dave.
call Dave."
Yep. So that to me, yeah. Did I want to see the original four together again one more time? You know, of course. But that's how we got it, and that's what made Edward happy. You know, and as long as he's happy, I'm happy. You know,
He sobered
that's how
up.
much I love that guy. Um, as long as he's happy, I'm happy, and all I wanted.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the 2012 and the 2015 tour, I saw the last show of the 2015 tour, which would turned out to be the last show, and
Yeah, that
you know,
year. That's
I
awesome.
cried like a baby on the way home because I knew I felt like that felt like it. You know, not that he was going to pass away soon, but it just felt like they'd done it. They'd done the record. They played the hits over and over again. You know, Dave's definitely a shell of himself. You know, vocally, and you know how long can you just keep doing that stuff? And Van Halen's a young sound. You know, it's not an old man's game, and it's I'm just glad it all happened the way it did, and that we got that. And that's purely because of Wolfgang.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you watch that distance video real quick, Brad.
Yeah.
That distance video where at the very end where it pans and it shows Wolfgang and Ed on stage playing together, and then the next scene is both of them leaning up against Alex's drum set, and they're like not playing; they're kind of just kicking back.
Mm-hmm.
That brings me to tears every time I see it. It's just like,
you know what gets me in that video is when Eddie's playing with Wolfgang at like a school challenge show.
Oh, and he's hugging him,
and he's behind him on the drums, and he's just holding his arms up, and he's just so proud of his kid, and you know, anybody who's had kids, you know what it's like. Everyone shares that feeling. So I'm glad Wolfgang had that with his father, and I'm so glad Edward had that with his kid, because you know, I want to see those videos of that stuff. I want to see him on stage with his dad, you know, at school. I want to hear that. When Eddie Van Halen's in an auditorium at a school playing with his son, I want to hear
doing
what they're doing.
AC/DC. They're doing AC/DC.
What they're doing. I don't care. I want to hear it. You know, I don't care if it sucks. I want to hear it. So, yeah. Anyway,
Sorry,
back to
Brad,
the record.
go ahead.
This is Van Halen.
I just think we're quite fortunate, because I'm not sure, from my understanding, whether we would have even got a different kind of truth without Wolf. I really don't think that would have happened. So at least we could, because I think Ed was probably like at that point where he's like, he didn't really have the interest to do another record, maybe at that point.
I think he was at a point where he was uh, uh, not really making decisions and cool with it. You know, I really think that's where he was in his life. I I'm just not gonna put the energy in. You know, that kind of energy and that kind of seek of control is what ruined him. You know, what made him go off the rails. You know, made him abuse and self destruct. And I really think that he was in a comfortable place to do that record, and they tried to keep him there. They didn't even record it at 5150. I think they wanted to
Right.
make him as comfortable as possible and make it
So-
as easy as possible. So
This is a hard question to ask. He struggled writing material for Van Halen 3. And then a majority of the material off Different Kind of Truth was all, retread stuff from, back in the day. I wonder if he had writer's block or if he was done mentally in his mind, if he was done writing new material.
well, I mean, the Different Kind of Truth has 5 or 6 new songs on it. Like, let's not
Yeah. I guess,
say it's
yeah,
just a
there are-
complete rehash. There's
Half of them are, right?
there's several songs that were new, and
And
but
some of them phenomenal.
yeah, and another thing when people talk about rehashing and going back into the demos and whatever, Van Halen gets a bad rap because all that shit got released and leaked and dumped. Every other artist doesn't have that problem, so they can go back to their shit, fish out an old song. No one would ever know. No one would ever know.
Good point.
But Van Halen, all their stuff was literally spilled out onto the internet by assholes, by people who shouldn't have done it, didn't have the clearance to do it. So that's why we know all about those old songs. And I mean, I think Edwards admitted most of the riffs he ever wrote were between the age of 15 and 18 in his room.
Right.
Most of those
Wolfgang
riffs.
calls all those songs new songs because they never were released. He's like, just because they were
Right.
on some demo or some bootleg or something that bleeded out to the public doesn't mean that if we didn't release them and we didn't mix them and we didn't say, hey, this song's done, they weren't a song.
Yeah, you don't know, when the Stones wrote this song on this new record, you don't know that because it never got out.
Exactly.
Oh well, look at Tattoo You, Caleb. Being a Stones nut, you'll know that a majority of those songs go all the way back to Exile on Main Street. So those songs were 10 years old, big chunk of them, and no one gives the Stones grief for rehashing old songs.
Right, because I mean, as great as Eddie Van Halen is and was to a lot of people, man, was he scrutinized, and man, did he live under a constant pressure to outdo himself.
He always had to answer questions.
I mean, Jimi Hendrix had a 4-year career in the spotlight. 4 years.
Yeah.
That's, that was 2017.
Yep.
What we remember 2017, right? That's all Jimi Hendrix had. Eddie Van Halen had 3.5 decades, of time. He started to underproduce and had a lot of personal issues, in the later years and demons and whatnot.
Who doesn't?
God, even if he'd left after those 6 records, he'd still be the greatest. He'd still be the greatest, even if Sammy never happened. If half the world got their wish and Van Halen just went away when Dave left, because that's what it seems like, right? People who don't like Sammy, I'm like, what do you fucking expect? Do you expect Eddie and Alex to go away and quit? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, why? Why? That's selfish.
How
How
many times?
selfish people are. How selfish people are that hate for Sammy Hagar. Fuck,
I know.
dude. Let Eddie Van Halen be an artist,
It's
and
great.
that's how he
How many
got to
times
be an
did you see?
artist.
How many times did you see them with Sammy?
2. I saw the 5150 tour twice, and then I saw Balance, and I didn't see anything else. There was a time where I kind of had to let it go. It became such a crazy obsession.
What did you think of Balanced?
Oh, I loved it. Loved it. You know, I love his tone. I love that the recording of the record. I love most of the songs. A lot of the songs mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
You know,
that was my
time in my
first. That
life.
was my first
25
time
years
seeing
old.
them live.
Yeah, I was 25 years old. I think I had my first like real deep relationship. During that year with that record, and a lot of those songs, were like the soundtrack to it. So I still think about
Yeah,
it like that.
some good love
A
songs.
song like "Take Me Back," that fucking
Hmm.
song is incredible. It's
That's very
incredible.
underrated. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's the pure sober Eddie uh, of all those years, and he's so precise on it and so perfect.
Mm.
He's really perfect on that record. There's nothing out of line on that record. There's nothing hanging over the edge, which
hmm
in a lot of other situations was cool too. But he really dialed it in and gave his best on that record for sure.
yeah.
So
Seven Steel.
Love it. Absolutely love Balance, but I love all the records. So
yeah,
it's hard
I
to
mean,
juggle. Each week, each month, each year, I have a different Van Halen album record that's my favorite. So
Night Simon. Yeah,
Simon,
I saw the Balance tour, and then I didn't miss a tour till the very end. I saw them all after that, and I think I was 16 when Balance came out. So I kicked myself that I didn't push myself to go to the Right Here Right Now tour or the For Unlawful Calling Knowledge. I probably could have had one of my brothers take me, but I'll admit I'm
yeah.
a Sammy freak. I
I
like
wish
him just as much as
yeah.
I do Dave.
yeah,
I wished I'd kept at it, but I literally had. There was a point where I had to let Van Halen go because it was too much. If that makes
Yeah.
any, you know,
No.
the obsession was so gnarly, and I spent from 13 to 19 like a constant chase of him, daily chase, uh, almost like
Wow.
a stalker, uh, and you know, if we have, I could tell another story if you want to hear it.
Please do.
My
Yeah,
second,
I know this. This is. I was waiting for this one.
my second meeting with the great one. They had, Valerie still has the house on Broad Beach in Malibu, and I would drive by that place. Whenever I was in the neighborhood, I would pull off onto Broad Beach because it was right off PCH and roll by, just like you know. And this one time, I drove by and up on the road because it was the house was sort of down a driveway behind a gate, but you could see through the gate. But up on the road was David Bertinelli washing his car with a hose, and I pulled up next to him, and I had just met Dave a few weeks earlier at the NAMM show. So this was like February of '89, I think, and um, I said, "Hey, Dave, Caleb from the Kramer booth." Because back in those days, I would go to the NAMM show and hang at the Kramer booth all day and plug in, and I would plug in, and they would let me demo the guitars at their booth. So I'd be the only one with a live guitar at the Kramer booth, and I would sit there for 8 hours playing. And I did that for like 2 or 3 years in a row, like 87, 88, 89. And so he remembered me, and we started talking. And then the next thing I know, I'm helping him wash his car. And then the next thing I know, we're throwing a football. And the next thing I know, he's saying, "Hey, you want to come have a beer?" And I walk down the driveway, and right down the driveway, there's like 3 garage doors, and one of them's open, and there was a pickup truck, and the hitch was down, and or the tailgate was down, and then Ed was sitting on the back of that tailgate, with a huge mug of beer and a cigarette, and I sat down next to him, and sat there for maybe a half hour, shooting the shit, asking more questions.
Now, Caleb, timeout.
Yeah.
Did he remember you from the One Day at a Time, or you didn't even put that
I
in
don't
play
remember
yet?
I don't remember if I mentioned it, because I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the guy, because if there's one thing a celebrity gets every day of their lives is, "Do you remember me?" Which is a validation that people need from their heroes. They need to, and it can be very devastating if they say no, right?
Right. And they
So a
meet
lot of
way
them
more people
say,
than the average person.
a lot of them just say, "Yes, I do,"
Mhm.
because they know the power of, "No, I don't." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I didn't even want to have that moment where he said, "No, I don't remember." So I don't think I said that. But the story is good because the ending. But I remember asking him about, like, because I was had just dropped out of MI GIT, and the reason I did was because the curriculum was basically processing shredders and Yngwie, Satriani, Vi style guitar players, and I felt like my whole vibe was being squeezed and processed, and I took it so seriously that I was like, "I'm fucking out of here," and so I remember asking Edward what he thought of those guys, what he thought of Yngwie and Vi and Satriani and whatnot, and he said, "Look, the guys can play amazing. Their skill is off the charts, but where are the tunes?"
Mm-hmm.
I remember him saying that, just like that. Where are the tunes?
Mm.
The tunes sell.
It's not even the sell. It's what makes you.
Yeah.
The tunes resonate. The
Yeah.
tunes make you more than just a guitar hero.
Yeah. You
Eddie
hum a
Van Halen would
tune.
have been a guitar hero, but he never would have been a songwriter, or a musician, successful, in that way. He wanted to make music that people remembered and liked. It's all about the song, not about his playing. And I'll never forget that, because that kind of made it click to me. Like, it ain't about what you can do on the guitar. It's about what you can do with your band.
Wow.
It's about what you can create with the collective, not about how fast you can play an arpeggio, minor scale and whatnot. That's a fun trick for guitar players, but
Right.
the chick out there buying a record doesn't know what the fuck that is, and it doesn't even
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't care. They just hear drums. Everybody hears drums.
Drums and bass. Drums and bass.
It's always people lock into. They hear the rhythm and the beat, and that's it. And everything else is like, oh, if I pay attention there, I see the guitar players doing something really cool, but they're just bouncing to the beat. So I remember that. I remember him talking about the tunes, and we moved around to the side of the house. I remember we were sitting there in the garage, and he said something like they were going to go bowling. and that he was like, what's the closest bowling alley to Malibu? Like, I'm trying to figure this out. And I said, I don't know, because I really didn't know the valley, which was over the hill. I said, but down in Santa Monica, there's a place called Bayshore Pins. And he goes, oh, cool. And everything. So we went around to the side of the house, and there was a trampoline. I remember, like, I was jumping on a trampoline, and I hear someone say, hey, Caleb. And I look over, and there's Edward Van Halen at his kitchen door on his phone with his hand over the receiver, like he's on with information. Remember 411? And he's like looking, he's like, what's the name of that bowling alley in Santa Monica? And I go, Bayshore Pins? And he goes, right. Goes back on the phone. And that was the end of the chase. You know, that was it for me. You know, he said, hey, Caleb.
Wow. That's awesome.
And that, like, you know, that's all you want when you're 19. You know, you just want your hero to know you. And he knew, you know, he said my name. And I drove away, and I basically let it all go. Like, it all just kind of, you know. And I'm really glad that happened, because I could only imagine how crazy my 20s would have been if I, you know, didn't have that experience. And then there was, you know, another one later on towards the end that was really cool too, that Wolfgang was responsible for. So I don't know, we have a minute, or because that's a good one too. The 2012 Kings, the Los Angeles Kings, were heading towards their first Stanley Cup, and I was on Twitter, and I was a crazy Kings fan on Twitter, and Wolfgang was a really big Kings fan at the time, and he, I think he liked one of my tweets or something in respect to the Kings, and so the Stanley Cup final comes around, and I go to Game 4 at the Staples Center. One of my best friends is a really successful video game artist, and got a lot of money. So he bought 2 tickets to that game. It was probably like $3,000 each. And we went to the game, and we're sitting there, 10th row down low. And I see, out of the corner of my eye, I see Wolfgang walk down the aisle with his girlfriend and Matt Bruck and another guy. And they sit like 4 rows in front of us. I'm like, holy shit, So the period ends, and I go over to the intermission. I just go, do my thing, go up and say, hey man, I'm Caleb Rappaport. I don't know, you might know me from Twitter. And he's like, hey, he's like, I love your tweets. And so I spent the next 15 minutes telling him that in as fast as I can, the whole one day at a time story when I was 13. And I guess he thought it was really cool. And he ended up following me on Twitter, which means I could send him messages, right? When someone follows you on Twitter, you can send them a direct message. It's just like a text. And of like a week later, after they won the Stanley Cup, I remember sending him like a message, like, woohoo, and he was like, right on, man, and then I said, hey, we're going to be in Phoenix in a couple of days, and we're coming to the show. I'd love to impress my wife. Maybe we could come backstage or something. And he gave this answer like, oh man, it's we're leaving right after, and it's all the Fender people are going to be there that night. He's like, any other night I would make it happen. I'm sorry. And I was like, fine. I took a shot. So we went to the show. My wife, my mother-in-law lived in Phoenix, and we were out there visiting her, and we made it, got tickets to the show and sort of made a trip out of it. And we're having dinner out front of the venue, the arena there, and I get a message on Twitter from Wolf's girlfriend. Where are you guys? And I'm like,
Now,
check,
Caleb, same girlfriend?
check, please.
He has
Check,
now?
please. And you know, I'm trying to message her back, and she's not responding, and it's like, oh my god, you know, like they want to find us. Oh my god, and there's like reception issues with the phones, and I couldn't get in touch. So we go to our seats. Turns out we're sitting with all the Fender people in the seats I got, and I see Matt. And I wave him down, and he comes over, and he's like, "Fucking Kings, man!" You know, like because they just won. He's like, "Did you go to the parade?" And I was like, "Yeah," you know. And I go, "Hey, Olivia was trying to get in touch with me. I don't know why." And he goes, "Oh, let me go find out." Goes back, comes back 10 minutes later, and he goes, looks right past me to my wife. He goes, "Mrs. Caleb," and he goes, and he hands her a sticker pass, and he goes, "Wolfgang would like you to be his guest after the show."
Oh my god!
And he said, "And you too," you know, to me, and you know, gave us a bunch of pics, and
cool.
And I was like, "Oh my god!" So they, you know, he says, "Meet me down stage left, you know, the barrier right after the show." And I remember just that whole show thinking like I'd never wanted a Van Halen show to end quicker, you know. Like let's get through this.
Oh jeez.
You know, sure enough, the show ends. I go down there. He's waiting for us. Brings us back. You know, he has us sit on the, you know, the dressing room road case right out in front of all the hallway to the dressing room. Says they're showering, so give them, you know, 10, 15 minutes. So we're sitting there. And I'm looking at my wife, and I'm going, "Do you know what's weird?" And she goes, "What?" And I go, "We're the only ones here."
Yeah.
You know, there ain't no meet and greet. You know, we're the only ones here. And Matt comes back. He goes, "Let's go." And he walks us down this hallway, and there's Ed's dressing room. And he looks in, and he comes back out. Goes, "We'll go to Wolf's." And then so we go down the hallway. And we go to Wolf's and opens the door, and there's Wolf, you know, his girlfriend, his mother.
Oh my gosh.
His mother's husband, his uncle, his uncle's wife. And Wolfgang's like, "Fucking Kings, man." You know, that's all he wanted to talk about. All he wanted to talk about was hockey. And, you know, so we're bullshitting and talking and I go over to Valerie, who's sitting on a couch, and I told her that I was that kid. I mentioned the name of our friend who got us in that night, and she's all, "I remember you." You know,
oh my gosh!
I remember you, because she heard about me for years after that from that friend about what had happened to me, like the change in my life, like what Eddie had caused, and she's like, "I remember you."
Wow.
And so then, you know, door opens and he walks in, and this is the funniest thing ever. He looks at me and goes, "Hey, man," and I'm like, "Hey," and he goes, "Congratulations," and I'm like, "What? Huh?" He goes, "What's it like to lift that thing up?" And I'm going, "What?" He goes, "Don't you get to like keep it for like a week?" And I look at Wolf, and Wolf's going like, "Oh, Dad, I met him at the game. He's not on the team."
The Stanley Cup.
and Eddie just turned beet red and started like crying, and everyone's laughing. And I'm laughing, but I'm in shock, because when Eddie Van Halen's looking at you like you're the fucking shit. Oh my God. You know, that was the moment that I had, like, with him. Like, he thought I was someone else, and he thought I was someone very special, and he thought I just won the Stanley Cup. And
oh my gosh.
it was unbelievable. And we had a big laugh. He said that, there was more weed down front that night than, at any other show on the tour. And it obviously had affected him.
What he said.
And so I got
Was
a few
Janie
pictures.
there with him? Was Janie there with him?
She's probably still in the room. She didn't come into the Wolf's room.
Okay.
But it was cool. Hung out for 10 minutes. Got to take some pictures, and let me get one up so you can see. Because
So obviously,
Thank you, Caleb.
Matt Bruck was really genuinely. What was he like, Matt Bruck?
See, here's that at the hockey game.
You got a beard.
But it was the playoff beard. We were in the playoffs, so yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I grew
Wow.
a beard just like the team,
Okay. Yeah.
And so then.
Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's still laughing from what just happened.
This was 2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and Wolfgang made that all happen. He heard my story at the game, and he wanted to hang on. Hey, what's up? Hold on one sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
No problem. Hey guys, isn't it a pleasure that we've managed to get Nerd Halen on and join us and tell us some stories?
Yeah, thanks, Caleb. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
It's fireside
great.
chats.
Yeah, so that was amazing. That it's obviously the last time I saw him in person, and met him, and I had another chance. Janie had tweeted that she was going to the Bryan Adams concert that day. So I went on the ticket sites, and I bought tickets, down in the 10th row or whatever, and told my wife, we're going to see Bryan Adams at the Greek Theater. And we just went and see the show, and we sit down, and luck of the Irish, even though I'm not Irish, but 12 feet away, Eddie and Janie are sitting right there. And wow. I said, honey, look. And she looked and she goes, you knew, like she just knew, like it wasn't about Bryan Adams. It was because they were going. And I
was going to say your poor wife.
But I didn't go by. I just let them be. That was in 2016. And I could have gone over, said hello. I just let them be. I took some pictures, but it wasn't, it wasn't, it just didn't feel right. So, but yeah, that was that. And what I do know about that week that I waited to get the EVH thing was that Mike Tempesta had to run it by Matt Bruck and Ed. Because they sign off on everything, including the artists. And I found out later on from Adam Weaver with FU Tone that Edward knew all about Nerd Halen and me, and had everything to do with me becoming an EVH artist. And to me, that, even though I didn't know it personally until later, it obviously means the world, and kind of the bookend on the whole lifetime chase of him. And
icing on the cake.
Oh, I mean, I just know how many guitar players that do get endorsements or artist agreements, they go with the company that wants them. And it's usually not the one they want, but they go with somebody. And and I knew that I would probably have to, if I was going to do something like that, I would probably wouldn't be with the one I wanted to be with. Just wouldn't work out. And there's no other tribute artists on the EVH roster. There's a bunch of metal guys and Taylor Swift's guitar player, but there's no Van Halen tribute guitar player in that stable. Cool. And to know that I cleared that hurdle, because of the history, I think, because of the story, it's not lost on me. And this whole thing is, now with what's happened in the last 6 months, I cannot wait to play and have the band play and have people have a good time. Nerd Halen is a fun band, and we want you to laugh at a rock show. And that's what Van Halen did that everyone forgets. Every other band in 1983, 82 was very serious.
Yep.
Very deadly serious.
Yep.
Deadly. And Van Halen made you laugh while they blew your heads off. And that's like the mission directive of my band. Like I want there to be fun and comedy and laughs, but I also want the music to be devastating. And you close your eyes and you think you're there. That's the show to me. So I think we're on the right path. So
yeah. Well,
if you don't follow at Nerd Halen on all the sites, so
I was just about to say that. Share it.
Yeah.
And
Andrew, we'll have to put all Nerd Halen's links in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least if you follow Caleb there, that will take you to all his links, his social media links. So check Caleb out. Easy.
Yep. And if you've tried friend me on Facebook, I usually have like a 5 or 10 mutual friend rule. I get a lot of requests from people that I don't have one mutual friend, and it's like, who are these people? So, but
gotta be careful.
You got to be careful, yes. And but it's great. I'm having a blast. I cannot wait to get back out. I love talking Van Halen forever. It's all, If I had time, I'd have my own fucking show. Sorry, Johnny. I would though, but I don't have time.
Oh, look, we appreciate the fact that you've jumped on our show and spent some time with us, Caleb. We've been a fan of Nerd Halen since the beginning. We were there when you were talking about Nerd Halen on the Johnny Bean show. So
one of the first T-shirts, because I had T-shirts before there was a band.
Yeah.
I was selling T-shirts before there was even a band.
And there's my pick.
Yep. And I sent
you sent me a pic.
One of the first T-shirts I sent was to New Zealand to Andrew with a pic, and I remember felt so bad because the shirt was like $25, but then I was like, dude, the shipping is $25 too. and Andrew gladly, added some money to the pot, and I shipped that thing.
I wanted that fucking T-shirt.
Dude, you don't know how long I kept telling people after that. Do you know there's someone in New Zealand with a Nerd Halen T-shirt? That's fucking cool. Like, we don't even have a band yet, but there's somebody with a Nerd Halen T-shirt, in the furthest
as
end
far
of
as
the earth.
as far away as you can get from California.
Yeah. Crazy.
Us end of the world, brother. Us end of the world.
Andrew, thank you so much. You've definitely been there since the beginning, and I have not forgotten. And I just love it. I love what you're doing with this, and I love that we all have this connection. It's awesome. And like I said, I've been longing for this for 35 years. To have these kind of friendships, these kind of relationships with people, because this is more than a band. Van Halen's more than a band. It's a life. And
it's a connection.
So glad to be a part of it.
No, we appreciate it, Caleb. Thank you for jumping on board. This is just our way of celebrating Eddie Van Halen. You've said it all. He's such a huge influence in our lives when we were young guys, young boys. He was there, and we never had friends, like you said, that Doug Van Halen. There was a couple, but most people were listening to, pop music or goth music or rap music or something like that, to find fans on social media is a good thing. And that's one of the key things that we talk about on our show too, Caleb. Musicians and music fans have a responsibility to make social media into a positive place. If you don't like something, just, go away. Don't be this dickhead and say you suck, Be positive.
No,
and
I love it. I love it because I know that it's resonating. The more people that like to talk shit, I'm like that means we're doing something good. Like you have to have that. That's a natural reaction to something that a lot of people like. Is there's always going to be someone that says I don't like it, and that means it's working. Like if everyone liked Nerd Halen, I'd be like, we're not good enough yet. We have to have haters. So, bring it on. Hate my band. Fucking hate my band. I love it. Talk shit.
Bad media is
Leave
good
nasty
media.
comments. Leave nasty comments. Be a dick. Tell me. The recording's not in sync with the video. I don't care. Fucking. I love it. You're watching. You're interested. You actually took the time to reach out with a message. That's all I care about. That's beautiful to me. So.
Okay.
And hopefully,
all right. Okay, you heard it all.
With everyone else, all their other friends. Look what I wrote, and then it just snowballs from there.
So if you get bad messages on your YouTube channels, guys, or on your Facebook posts, you've heard it from Caleb. It's great. It's a positive thing. Don't. Yeah.
You're on your way. You're on your way.
Caleb, come back anytime you want, brother. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you on and share some of your stories. We look up to you. You are a fan. We are a fan of what you what you're doing, and that's the truth. I admit that I'm a fanboy, but we're all part of the same family. And even though we're separated by countries and boundaries and seas, it's the Van Halen thing is a big thing in our lives, and it's a pleasure to have you part of it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and I'll definitely come back and anytime. Love it. But I do have to
I'm only
go.
a couple states. I'm only a couple states above California. I'm in Washington, so we're on the same time zone.
Very good. I might see you soon, hopefully. So
yeah, for sure.
Let's hang out.
All right, Let's do it.
Rev, do you want to say goodbye to the cats in the chat?
Yeah, give me a second here. All right, who do we have left? I know we've had quite a few people.
Is anyone still
on.
here?
Everyone's gone.
We were talking about Van Halen too, but yeah.
Oh, it's always going to change. The topic stayed on topic a little bit.
Still about Van Halen, mate.
Yeah, I think everyone's gone. we have Robot Master Switch, Brian Spalding, Mark Tanner, Arthur James, Luca Farah, KXM Rock. Who else? Mike Rogers. I think that's about it.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, guys. So tune in 2 weeks' time for the ranking of the tracks. We'll be on the usual time tomorrow. Brad and I are with Simon and another guest, Michael, also from New York City, and we're going to be doing part 1 on this DVD. And I know you're a Clapton fan too, Caleb. So 24 nights here at Clapton. So we're doing a rundown on that DVD. So Caleb might join us in the chat. Appreciate you hanging out with us.
Thanks, Caleb.
Yep.
Been great meeting you, mate.
Thanks, man.
You too.
Thanks for joining.
I got to get one of those shirts.
Oh, Cobra Kai made him. Check him out.
Oh, okay. I love it.
Okay, awesome. God bless everyone. Stay safe. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Good.